Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm, and you are watching sixth and final part of What If Naruto Found Kushina's Secret Diary. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to his channel. Now, wasting no more time, let's start the story.
An air of tension pervaded the atmosphere. A sense of unease that the people living on Tanzaku Street were unaware of. Because of the four Leaf Shinobi that are presently living in the gambling town at Euro, two of them are members of the fabled Sanina Euro. Tension surrounded them. The third member planned and conspired to have his arms restored to their former condition while they were away in the village hidden in sound. The Sanin were formerly the pride of the village, known for their prowess and strength after they survived a battle against the legendary shinobi Hanzo the Salamander during World War II. Additionally, for having received training from the third Hokage and shinobi's second god, Hiruzen Sarutobi. But tragedy and time would split the three apart. One serving as a spy, another as a wanderer, and a third as a defector. Only following the abortive invasion of Sound were the three shinobi brought back together. For the third, all that remained was a struggle of the wills and minds. In order to ensure the safety of his people and succeed him as Hokage, one wanted to take her home. The other desired for her to mend the wounds caused by his ambition. The only thing that was desired in the midst of everything was to be left alone by the one who would benefit them both. Regretfully, neither party was willing to give in so easily. Orochimaru was sure Tsunade would agree to his proposal. He was aware of the anguish felt by those who had lost a loved one and their desire to see them return. He had spent a lot of time practicing manipulating this emotion, so it was simple. Conversely, Jiraiya was resolved to bring her back, assume the role of Hokage, and tend to those who had suffered serious injuries during the invasion. However, he wasn't really sure if he could succeed. He had known Tsunade for the same amount of time as Orochimaru. He witnessed her resolve to save more lives since he was present on the day her brother passed away. Then saw her resolve break down and ultimately die when Dan was killed. His many years of experience had taught him never to get his hopes up, but he still wanted to think that in the end she would make the right choice. He did, however, harbor a glimmer of hope, which was sparked by his godson and apprentice Naruto Uzumaki. In this story, Naruto was the unpredictable element that neither Jiraiya nor Orochimaru could foresee. Tsunade was reminded by his presence of the people she had lost in the past and how their dream of becoming a Hokage was passed on to the following generation. But would he be the one to drive Tsunade to the brink of abandoning a place that had cost her everything, or would he be the one to bring her back home to become the fifth Hokage? That would receive a prompt response. Naruto had dedicated the first 5 days of the bet to learning how to use the Rasengan. As anticipated, he was able to obtain the Rasengan in 3 days by using his clones. He discovered that using both hands to produce the jutsu's rotation, power, and containment was the most efficient way to do so. After mastering those two techniques, he was able to use just one hand to thrust the jutsu. Currently, he was focusing on increasing the jutsu's speed so that he could summon it faster and use it for shorter periods of time. Rasengan! He exclaimed, driving the ball of chakra into one of the numerous twisted trees until a sizable dent emerged from the wood's deep carving. All right, he uttered in between breaths. I think I can do it faster, but that was quicker, he said, raising his hands once more as he produced another Rasengan a little quicker than the previous one. He pressed the orb once more into the tree's bark, and it spiraled in his hand. But because it left the same spiral marks as the others he had practiced on, this attack lacked the force of the prior one. In that one, there wasn't enough power, he gasped, his hand shaking. As he prepared to make another, he told himself, I need to learn how to make the Rasengan faster without sacrificing the power. Tsunade was observing the boy try to create another Rasengan in silence while Naruto kept creating the Rasengan. She saw that he was attempting to increase the jutsu's power, but that he lacked the same level of power that the fourth Hokage had previously shown off with the jutsu. However, Naruto was actually putting on a small performance. Tsunade was unaware that Naruto had already finished the Rasengan and had to wait to reveal it to her in order to find out who her true allegiance was. Naruto had discovered that Orochimaru had made Tsunade an offer of some sort in exchange for Tsunade's arm's healing, thanks to his newfound perceptions and Jiraiya's incidents. They had no idea what he had offered her in exchange, but it was alluring enough for her to give it some thought. Thus, they had to grant Tsunade the requested week so that she could decide whether or not to be loyal. Would she rejoin the Leaf or betray it? Hence, even though Naruto had finished learning the Rasengan, he still needed to practice. The trouble was that, although she had been out of active duty for years, she was still a proficient shinobi, and her experience in surveying opponents far outweighed that of the young Uzumaki. Thank goodness Jiraiya had the means to keep her from discovering the lie. When Tsunade got close, the boy could reduce the training to a believable level because the toads would alert him using Scout Toad summons. Although lying to her felt wrong, Naruto knew that lying and deceit were necessary parts of the job in order to win. As Naruto returned to calling forth another Rasengan, he thought to himself, it still doesn't feel right. Tsunade was staring at him, the sun already starting to fade into the distance. Beyond just having a similar haircut, facial features, and being roughly the same age as her brother when he passed away, the boy's resemblance to her brother was quite strong. But the resolve that had once gleamed in her late lover's and brother's eyes. He was determined to become Hokage like her grandfather and granduncle, and so was Dan. To defend and preserve the dream of a quiet village with everything they had. But their dream was cut short, leaving her with nothing but regret and guilt. She blamed herself and the necklace around her neck for their deaths, and it felt heavy. Because she had gifted those who loved their home with this cursed relic from a bygone era. She was now concerned about whether the boy would win this wager. She was unaware that he had already mastered the first and second stages more quickly than she had, and if this continued, he might very well master the third stage by the end of the week. Something she was more afraid of than she admitted. For should he prevail in this wager, he would not only inherit her necklace but also suffer the consequences of its curse. When he passed away, snuffed out in his youth before he could even have grown up, started a family, or even realized his dream of becoming Hokage, he was no older than her brother. Feeling guilty for giving the necklace to Dan and Iwaki, she feared that it would result in yet another death. Nevertheless, she couldn't help but feel something for Naruto's tenacity as she observed him. A tiny resurgence of something she'd long since forgotten. However, she dismissed these emotions and turned to leave. She had to make a decision soon, and the more she considered her options, the more her thoughts veered toward each one. When she finally decided she had had enough, she turned and walked back to the village to gamble herself silly. A Scout Toad suddenly materialized from behind a rock as he hopped in Naruto's direction after she left. She's gone, Naruto. Sama, he informed her, and Naruto gave a nod. Thanks, it still feels wrong lying to her like this. But I guess being a ninja isn't all about the cool stuff, huh? I'm afraid not, Naruto. Sama. Shinobi are required to perform tasks that would be considered a euro unsavory for the average person. But it is necessary in the long run, for the greater good, the toad replied with a brow raised. That was pretty deep. With a puff of smoke, the small toad vanished. I'm older than I look, Naruto. Sama. In any case, I shall return to Mount Myoboku, call upon me if you need me, he said. He sat down, took a sip from his water canteen, and set it down, saying, he seems nice. I should ask his name next time. Before bringing his hands together, he fixed his gaze on them. Well, he said, putting his hands close to one another and making a Rasengan with his palms interlocked. One of the few things he would ever inherit from his family, he stared at the swirling orb of chakra in front of him and said, I've mastered it. Maybe not the same way as Pervy Sage does, but it's better than nothing. A euro. Hey dad, I did it. I mastered the technique you made for Mum in record time, heck maybe I'll even finish it for you? If I do, I'll come up with a cool name for it. Although I would want to know what you'd come up with a euro, probably something lame if what Pervy Sage said was true. He laughed and then looked at the orb with a smile on his lips. And Mum, I know how much this jutsu must have meant to you guys. Dad made this for you so you could protect Konoha and the ones you love. You loved the village with all your heart, even when your own home was destroyed. I think you'd have been a cool Hokage, maybe even cooler than Dad. So I promised to only use this to protect the ones I love and pass it on to those that will do the same. Euro. If you guys were Haria Euro, would you be proud of me? He appeared to be asking the orb in his hand before dispelling the jutsu. For an instant, he imagined that the wind was caressing his head and his parents were smiling proudly as they gave him a loving pat on the head. With a gentle smile, he rubbed his head and wiped away the tiny tear that appeared in his eye. He seemed to be looking up at the moon and saying, thanks. To the entire world. He lay down on the grass and put both hands on the back of his head, saying, well, I've got all this time left and not much I can do. I've mastered the Rasengan, so now I just have to find out what side Tsunade's on. The crescent shape of the moon hovered over his head as he looked up at the night sky. Gazing up at the celestial marvel, he contemplated the events that lay ahead. Tsunade had a few days to decide whether to betray the Leaf by curing the enemy that orchestrated the invasion and killed his fellow shinobi, or return to Konoha and assume the role of Godem. He had no doubts that Orochimaru was still a formidable foe despite being unable to use his arms. Had the third not chosen to oppose it, he was initially supposed to succeed his father as the Yondaime. He had accumulated decades of experience, tacit knowledge, ninjutsu knowledge, and whatever else he picked up during his lengthy shinobi career. With all of that, Naruto could see it clearly. He said simply, gazing at the moon, "If I face him head-on, I'm dead. I know Pervy Sage won't let me fight him, but he wouldn't put it past me if he tried to kill me the first chance he gets. I've kind of pissed him off by helping the old man escape his purple flame trap thingy, so no doubt he probably wants me dead. I wonder if this curse is real. If I win, will I be doomed to die like Dan and Nawaki?" He asked as he put his hand in the airspace. He muttered to himself, "I could die tomorrow. And then I'd never become Hokage," feeling a tiny bit of doubt seep into his heart. But as he pushed those doubts away, he balled his fist. He pointed his fist to the moon and smiled, shouting to the heavens, "No. I'm not going to die. I will become Hokage, just like Dad and just like Mom wanted to be. You hear me, you stupid curse? I ain't dying yet. Watch me," he exclaimed, rising to his feet and resuming his exercise. Concurrently, the Hokage's office in Konoha. Sarutobi signed the official documents for the village's reconstruction while seated in his office at Euro, or what would soon be his former office. Even though he was now confined to a wheelchair, before he retired for good, he could at least assist with the paperwork and oversee the shinobi. Despite his hatred for the Hokage's seat's enduring foe, he muttered to himself as he stamped the form, "Jiraiya better get back here soon, Euro. I've had enough paperwork to last me a lifetime." Jiraiya and Naruto had left the village to look for Tsunade almost 2 weeks ago. Due to a kind donation of supplies from the Land of Waves, the village's major repairs had been finished during that time. A certain Uzumaki was to be thanked by the county for motivating the populace to oppose Gato. When the old man learned that the bridge had been finished and given Naruto's name, he had laughed that day. He was aware that, like his father, the boy would cause a lot of noise. All he could hope was that he would live to see it now. He felt the weight of the Uzumaki counterseal, and his gaze dropped to the seal resting on his chest. This tiny seal, created by the now dispersed Uzumaki clan, was the only thing preventing the Reaper from taking full possession of his soul. He never regretted using the dead demon's consuming seal, even though he knew it would seal his fate. He was the Hokage of the Hidden Leaf, or rather still is. He never felt regret for his choice to put his life in danger because it was a necessary part of the work he was passionate about. He looked up at the portraits of the Hokage and stared at the first, thinking to himself, "At least this way I won't ever be used for the reanimation jutsu. Still, I wished I had retired and been done with this infernal paperwork. How Lord Tobirama Sensei managed to complete this is beyond me. I wonder if they can manage to convince Tsunade to come home? It's been years since we last talked, and we didn't leave things on the best of terms. She's never even wanted this position, and I have no doubt the idea of it has been sullied with Dan and Nawaki's death." Sayuro. He was reminiscing about them. Two shinobi who had a lot of potential to become Hokage. He told himself, "But I have faith that Jiraiya and Naruto will succeed," as he pushed another file aside. As he nodded, there was a knock. He said, "Come in," as Team 8 came in. "Ah, Team 8, how was the mission?" "It went well, Lord Hokage. The repairs in the southern sector have been completed, and my team has just completed several D-ranked missions around the village," Kurenai stated with a nod. "Very good, we'll need the income if we want to return to normal. I'm sorry your team and the others have had to take on more missions than before, but with the shortage of manpower." Kurenai nodded at the elderly man and said, "It's okay, Lord Hogue. We're more than willing to help out the village in any capacity." As he crossed his arms, Kiba remarked, "Even so, I'd prefer it if we got some more higher ranked missions." He grumbled as Kurenai gave him a glare, "We're not little kids anymore, we can do more than just D and C rank missions." "Kiba." She growled, and Akamaru whimpered as Kiba arched a brow. "What, it's true. We are not kids anymore, we made it through the invasion and proved we can handle more." As Kiba gave him a fierce look, Shino mentioned, "If you recall, we almost died. As Kiba sighed in irritation, he told him, "You should probably take a page from Naruto's book and grow up. If it wasn't for my clan's insects you and I would have both been dead by Konkuro's poison." The old man looked at Hinata and said, "You. Lord Third?" The elderly man grinned at her as she asked, "Has there been any word about Naruto? Kun?" He told her, "Not yet, he's still on a mission with Jiraiya. The details of which I cannot divulge to Genin," and she gave him a solemn nod. "However, I can assure you there is nothing to worry about. Naruto has proven to be more capable than previously assumed. I'm sure he's doing just fine," he assured her with a nod. As Kurenai snatched the scrolls from above the desk, he said, "In any case, these are the next missions for you to complete." They nodded and he said, "Thank you all for your continued service for the Leaf." The old man laughed and they all said, "Thank you, Lord Third," before leaving the Hokage's office. He laughed to himself, "That girl, she better tell Naruto her feelings, it would be nice to know that he has a nice girl like her with him," and returned to his work. As they went down the hall, Kiba grumbled, "Ah, man. More D. Ranked missions. We're not kids anymore. This stuff is like for fresh out of the academy genin stuff, we can handle more. We have to contribute to the village in any way possible. We're already down a significant amount of manpower since the invasion. These D and C ranks will help the village regain financial stability," Kurenai stated to him as she perused the scroll. Most of it involved escorts and supply missions. "But Kurenai Sensei, we can do more for the village. They can give us an A. ranked mission like Kakashi's team did." Kiba narrowed his eyes and Kurenai told him, Kakashi's team were misinformed on the parameters of that mission. In any other circumstances genin would not have been approved for an A. rank mission. He crossed his arms and said, "Even still, I think we can handle an A. ranked mission. And what kind of mission is Naruto on anyhow? I thought all the genin were supposed to stay within the village?" "You heard the Hokage, the details of that are classified Kiba, even to me," Kurenai stated to him. "Naruto is doing his part for the village, be assured of that." Kiba boasted, striking a dramatic pose with his fists on his hips, "Yeah, but I bet he's learning all sorts of new jutsu from him. I still can't believe one of the legendary Sannin decided to take him on as an apprentice. Why him of all people? I could have made an awesome apprentice. Yet Naruto was chosen and you were not. Stop dwelling on what could have been and focus on what will be. Such as getting these missions done, unless of course, you want Naruto to get promoted before you?" Shino said with a grumble. He took one of the missions and read it, saying, "No way I'd get promoted after him." "Well, at least it's not dog walking," he remarked, to which Hinata laughed out loud as Kiba and Shino turned to face her. Hinata, something funny?" he inquired, causing the girl to blush with shame. "Sorry, it's just that Naruto told me about a mission he did that involved walking dogs," she said, laughing as she recalled how animatedly Naruto had recounted the story. She laughed and said, "He said one of them took him for a walk instead, so the idea of it happening again was kind of funny," to the eyebrow. Raising comments of Kiba and Shino. Kiba said, "Dang, Hinata. You've been acting a lot more different since Naruto and you started hanging out," and Shino grinned. As Hinata blushed at the mention of her crush, Shino said, "I agree. Not to say this is a bad thing Hinata, but rather more curious. We were under the assumption Naruto barely knew you." Kurenai nodded at her as she spoke, grinning. Well, I admit that's partially my fault for not being as social as everyone else. But being able to talk with Naruto so casually has been the best time of my life. I feel truly happy and confident with myself," she said. "Happy to hear that, Hinata, but just remember that this confidence you have has always been inside you. Naruto only helped to bring it out. He's not the source of it," Kurenai said as Hinata nodded. "Yes, sensei," she replied as the group left to finish their tasks. But before she went, Hinata cast one last glance out the window, and as she peered far into the distance, she began to worry a little about her crush. Although she was confident Naruto would return to her unharmed, she was nevertheless concerned for his safety. She thought, Naruto-kun, please stay safe, and then she turned back to her squad. Hotel on Tanzaku Street late at night. Naruto went back to the hotel room late at night. After completing additional training, he made the decision to return to the hotel room in order to recuperate. Tsunade had to make sure he was prepared for Orochimaru if he was going to meet them tomorrow. Even though he was certain that pervy Sage wouldn't allow that snake bastard to come near him, he still needed to exercise caution. He heard shouting coming from the other room just as he was going to turn the key in the room. The room of Tsunade and Shizune. He put his ear to the wood and walked over to the door, where he heard, "Lady Tsunade, you can't. Please reconsider, Lady Tsunade. If you go, Orochimaru will. I've made my decision, Shizune, this is the only way a €. If you go a €, then You'll want a € stop me? Even if it costs my life a €, then yes. I will stop you. Shizune a €, who do you think you're talking to?" His eyes widened as he heard a loud thump and something hitting the floor, and he kicked open the door. He entered and saw Tsunade standing over Shizune, who was unconscious and staring at him. Naruto yelled, staring at the boy, "Shizune. What did you do? She'll be fine, this is none of your business, kid. Play it safe and walk away, you still have a bet to win, remember?" She said while staring at him. He questioned. "You're going to meet Orochimaru, right?" While she gave him a fierce look. "And what if I am? Are you going to try and stop me too? You're seriously going to betray the Leaf, your home, for something that murdering snake bastards offered? I know you got dealt a raw hand, but you're not the only one who's lost people. And if they saw what you're about to do, what do you think they'd say?" He yelled while she was simply staring at him. "Back off, kid, a €, this is none of your concern, a €. He put both hands together as he prepared to form a Rasengan, saying, "It is my concern. My friends got hurt during the invasion and the old man was crippled because of that bastard. If you're going to heal him just so he can try again, I won't let you. I don't care how strong you are, I won't let anyone hurt the village." Naruto scowled as she said, "Why does it matter to you? You're just a child, why stand up to me?" As the Rasengan started to form, he yelled, "Because one day I will become Hokage. And I will protect the village with everything I've got. Even if it costs me my life." Tsunade narrowed her eyes and stared at the boy as both Dan and Nawaki flashed over him. "Stupid brat," she uttered before vanishing and then resurfacing in front of him, sharply jabbing her finger into his stomach. He gasped in agony and the Rasengan vanished. He hit the floor with the sensation that a cart had just run into him. He choked out, "Why? You," before collapsing. She looked down, then picked him up and laid him on the bed. She looked at his face, gently brushing back a strand of his hair. "Well, Jiraiya was correct, a €. I was foolish to place this wager. Trust me, a €. It's all for the best," she informed him as she stood up and left the room. She said, "You'll thank me for this someday," and then she walked out of the room. After several hours, when sunlight began to stream through the window, Naruto stirred and raised his head to look at the strange ceiling. He stood up and grunted slightly from where Tsunade had poked him, saying, "Where am I? Oh shit." He grunted, pervy Sage wasn't kidding, she is strong, and turned to face Shizune, who was lying on the floor. He sprang off the bed and began shaking her, exclaiming, "Shizune." He yelled, "Hey. Shizune. Are you okay? Wake up." As she opened her eyes and her eyelids fluttered. Naruto?" she questioned, rising slowly to her feet. She stood up, clutching her stomach, and exclaimed, "What are?" "Lady Tsunade." His words caused her eyes to widen. "Take it easy, you got hit harder than I did. And she's gone, no doubt to meet up with Orochimaru," he said. She nodded and stood up, telling him, "Yeah, I know about that, but that doesn't matter. We need to go after her. If she heals that bastard, he'll try and destroy the Leaf again." She started to jump out the window and said to him, "Stay here. I'll go after her." He was going to try to stop her when all of a sudden a kunai was thrown in front of her and they stopped. "Whoa, wait a minute. I can't let you go alone," he exclaimed. They heard someone say, "Hold it," and when they opened the window, they saw Jiraiya leaning against the wall and appearing to be in pain. Jiraiya moaned and Naruto yelled, "Pervy Sage. What the heck happened to you?" He bemoaned as his fingers went numb and Naruto scowled, "It was Tsunade. She put a drug into my drink. She's the only one who can make an odorless and tasteless drug that can't be detected by shinobi. I let my guard down, I can't even hold chopsticks if I wanted to." Jiraiya turned to Shiuni, who was silent, and Naruto told him, "Normally I'd mock you for letting your guard down, but we don't have time. She's gone to meet Orochimaru. We have to stop her before she heals that bastard's arms." Kabuto, who had been watching the entire exchange, narrowed his eyes in the meantime. "Gosh, this is bad news. We didn't anticipate Jiraiya to arrive at this time." Kabuto glared at Naruto, saying, "If Shiuni was by herself, I could easily take her out, but with Jiraiya here this will be most troublesome. And there's Naruto after that." It didn't make sense before because, even though he was the 9 Tails Jinchuriki, there was no way that he could have been a threat based on his stats from the exams. He swiftly fled as he went to inform Lord Orochimaru of the current events. Yet because of him, the barrier was taken down and the third Hokage managed to survive the invasion. He's become a potential threat. Jiraiya sensed the sound. Ninja's presence and did not miss this. As Shizune cursed herself, he questioned. What did he promise her? What deal did he make to get her to join his side? They leapt away and she said, "I didn't want to believe Lady Tsunade would betray the leaf. Come, I'll explain on the way." In a hurry, the three of them headed towards the town where Tsunade was supposed to meet Orochimaru. He questioned, "So what did he promise Tsunade?" Must have been real enticing if she's considering meeting Orochimaru, as Shizune hurried over to her master, her eyes narrowing. "He assured me he would revive Nawaki and Uncle Dan," she said to him, causing Jiraiya's eyes to widen and then narrow. As Naruto followed them as best he could, Jiraiya cursed, "I see. That makes sense. Damn bastard. Bring them back to life? But how? Isn't that kind of impossible?" But then again he had the first and second Hokages fighting for him. How did he manage that anyway? His eyes narrowed into a glare as he considered the sound genin that had been sacrificed in order to summon the Hokages. He used a forbidden technique known as the reanimation jutsu. I'm not 100% on the specifications, but I know it requires human sacrifices to use the jutsu and samples of their DNA, he said. Naruto yelled after them, "He is a sick bastard if he came up with a jutsu like that." His eyes grew wide as he said, "In actuality, the second Hokage made it a long time ago." What? But why would the second Hokage create a jutsu like that? It was a long time ago, things were different and jutsus were still unexplored territory. But the second abandoned the project and locked it up in the scroll of sealing. But Orochimaru managed to learn the technique and made modifications to it, which was how he was able to summon the previous Hokage Yuro. But if he's going to use the same jutsu again, doesn't that mean he has to sacrifice 2 people to bring them back? Exactly. But the thing is they wouldn't be alive. They'd be nothing but undead puppets. Completely at the mercy of the one who summoned Tama Yuro, but somehow I think Tsunade knows Thesa Yuro, which means a Yuro. He stopped to think about it. Even though Tsunade would know, would her feelings cloud her judgment? If that's true, I'll have to murder her. When they arrived at the castle ruins, where Tsunade had made arrangements to meet Orochimaru, Naruto halted them, saying, "We need to hurry." Only more devastation and what appeared to be Tsunade's cloak followed them. Whoa! What happened here? Was Naruto's question as he was equally perplexed as Jiraiya, who had witnessed Tsunade's strength firsthand. "This is Tsunade's handiwork, I recognize it anywhere at Yuro." Jiraiya nodded. Naruto asked, "But if she did this, doesn't that mean she declined his offer?" Shizune sighed with relief. Tsunade smelled her cloak and Tun. Tun suddenly waddled up to her, asking, "But the question is, where are they now?" Oink. Naruto arched a brow and Shizune exclaimed, "She's got her scent." Can a pig follow scents? He dismissed the thought as they sprinted in the direction of Orochimaru and Tsunade, following Tun. Tun. More devastation was ahead as they raced across a wide open field. Shiuni exclaimed, "There she is." As Jiraiya nodded and produced a smoke bomb. "With me." Jiraiya shook his head and Naruto said, "Wait. Shouldn't we try and sneak up on them? Take them by surprise?" The smoke bomb exploded between Kabuto and Tsunade as they emerged from the smoke. Given the current situation, Tsunade won't last long against them and we don't have a lot of time. Our only course of action is immediate action, he said to Naruto, who nodded. Orochimaru grinned a little, even though he was starting to perspire a little. "I should have figured you'd be here, Jiraiya. You've always been an annoying nuisance to my Golsa Yuro." Orochimaru grunted from the shots of pain in his arms, and he said, You know me, I always like to mess with you. Wasn't even that long ago we fought, how are the arms doing? The old man taught you a lesson, didn't he? Nothing I can't handle. Euro. Once Tsunade heals tame at Euro. Orochimaru smirked and turned to face Naruto. Still arrogant as ever, I see. This time I'll make sure to put you in the dirt where you belong, he told him. He glared at Naruto, who glared back but felt his heart rate rise. I see you brought the 9 tails brat with you. How thoughtful, I owe him for interfering with my plans, he said. But then his eyes grew wide and he turned to face Kabuto. Jiraiya shook his head and he asked, wait. Kabuto? What is he doing here? I thought we were the only ones on this mission. As Naruto examined his headband and noticed the hidden sound symbol instead of the hidden leaf symbol, he gave the order, he's not, look closely, Naruto. See his headband. When he abruptly revealed all he knew about Kabuto, Naruto stared in shock and said, he's not a leaf shinobi. He's one of Orochimaru's lackeys. He claimed to have failed the Chunin exams numerous times, to know a great deal about each examinee, and to have statistics on each of them. Most importantly, he was standing next to Orochimaru and engaged in combat with Tsunade. Naruto concluded, he's a spy. He was at the Chunin exams to gather data on us, to which Kabuto grinned. Tsunade abruptly moved past him and attacked Kabuto. Yes, I am. I'm surprised you managed to catch on. My data on you had concluded you had no talent for becoming a shinobi, unlike Sasuke. Yet you've changed since Thena Euro. I might even consider you a potential threat at Euro, but you're still no match for me, he remarked. Out of my way. Before feeling the poison in his body act up, Jiraiya tried to warn her, saying, wait. Tsunade. Damn it. The poisoning as Tsunade attempted to kill Kabuto, he cursed and, in an odd turn of events, sliced his arm and threw blood at her, stopping her cold. Naruto asked, what the? As she stood there covered in blood, terrified to the point of paralysis. When Kabuto succeeded in striking her, the woman was launched backward and into Shizune's arms. Hey. What's wrong with her? Why did she just freeze like that? Shizune asked, holding Tsunade close while beginning to wipe away the blood. Naruto turned back to a smirking Kabuto as Shizune explained, Lady Tsunade has hemophobia, which is a fear of blood. She freezes at the mere sight of it, something she developed after Uncle Dan died in her arms. He yelled, Bastard Euro, you'd use something like that against her? Kabuto smiled. He said, we are shinobi, Naruto. Victory can only be achieved by those willing to do anything to achieve it. Exploiting an enemy's weakness is one of the key methods for any victory. It seems you're still naive, as Shizune tried to reassure the terrified Tsunade. It's okay, Lady Tsunade, I'm here, everything will be okay, she comforted Naruto, who was staring at the two before glaring back at Kabuto. Naruto crossed his fingers and exclaimed, I'm not as naive as I used to be, but that doesn't mean I won't make you regret it. Hold on, Naruto, you won't stand a chance against that guy in the glasses. He's on the same level as Kakashi, the man said, causing Naruto to swear but nod. Jiraiya nodded as he said, I know. But somehow I don't think he'll give me much choice? Shizune shook her head and he said, I know, Shizune, do you think Tsunade can reverse the drug she gave me? She told him as Jiraiya nodded, I'm afraid it will still be in effect for a few hours, and not even I can reverse it, given her current state. He gestured to Shizune, who nodded and checked on Tsunade before standing next to Jiraiya. Okay, looks like both Orochimaru and I will be at a disadvantage. Shizune, you handle Kabuto, I'll take on Orochimaru. Naruto protects Tsunade, and Tsunade tries to heal herself. We'll handle these two, he said. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto exclaimed, calling forth two clones who surrounded Tsunade and brandished their kunai knives in a combative position. Kabuto just gave a glare and took a pill to stop his wrist from gushing blood. Orochimaru nodded and removed the bandages from his arms. Lord Orochimaru, unwrap your bandages, Kabuto questioned. His arms were pretty much rotting away, so they were an ugly violet color. While Kabuto smeared blood on Orochimaru's tattoo, Jiraiya bit his thumb and said, guess we're starting with the big guns, as they both went through hand signs. Summoning Jutsu. They both exclaimed, masking the field with two puffs of smoke. After the smoke cleared, Jiraiya had gone, and Orochimaru and Kabuto stood atop two enormous snakes. Gamakichi, the Toad Boss's little son. Naruto and Jiraiya gazed at the tiny toad with wide eyes. Gamakichi asked, "Hey fellas, what's up?" As Shizune gaped in shock. Jiraiya exclaimed, "Oh shit," as Naruto struck him in the face. With a nervous laugh, Jiraiya said, "That drug is really messing up your chakra control, isn't it, pervy? Sage? I see that your stupidity hasn't been cured." No doubt Tsunade had a hand in this, Orochimaru laughed. He wondered, maybe she did take my offer into consideration, as Jiraiya turned to face Naruto. He gulped and said, "Sorry kid, but I don't suppose you can?" To Naruto. Chiune raised an eyebrow as Naruto bit his thumb and said, "I'll try. But I'm still not great at summoning bigger toads, and the toad boss was a completely different circumstance. But we don't have a choice. Just need a big toad." He called for a boss? As Naruto performed the hand signals, she asked herself this question. This needs a big guy, don't screw it up. Anybody, even the supervisor. Recall the exams and the exact experience of calling upon Gamabunta. Give me someone, please. He slammed his hand to the ground, poured as much chakra as he could, and yelled as he made a mental plea to himself. Calling in jutsu. A thick cloud of smoke hid the field. A large toad with aquamarine skin, yellow eyes, and black markings surrounding his eyes was visible once the smoke cleared. It had two large katanas on its backs, and the katana was held in place by an orange sash around his stomach. Jiraiya yelled with delight, "Ha ha ha. Good going, Naruto. You summoned just the toad we needed." As Tsunade and Shizune gaped. A kid called forth a toad this size. That is just amazing. Orochimaru glared as Shizune pondered. Naruto was panting slightly and stumbled after using a lot of chakra. Kabuto nodded as Orochimaru gave an order. So, summoning the toad boss wasn't a fluke after all. And he managed it without the 9 tails power. He may pose a bigger threat than anticipated. Kabuto, deal with him, I will deal with the idiot. Orochimaru said. The toad looked up and Naruto said, "Whoa. Still takes a bit out of me, lucky I didn't waste all my chakra last night on the Rasengan. But at least I can control it better." Gamahiro said, "Jiraiya. Sama, Naruto. Sama, you need my services?" And Jiraiya nodded. He pointed to the two snakes that hissed angrily and said, "Nice to see you again, Gamahiro. Listen, my chakra control is messed up at the moment and we need your help. We need you to take them out." "I understand, let me take care of these insects," Gamahiro uttered while pulling out his katanas. Gamakichi vanished in a puff of smoke, saying, "Whoops, guess I better get out of here. Later Naruto, you owe me and Gamatatsu some snacks." With Tun and Shizune following behind, Naruto nodded, grabbed Tsunade with his clones, and hopped off the toad's head. "Naruto, take Tsunade and find cover. This fight isn't going to be pretty," Jiraiya commanded. "Oh no you don't." Kabuto cried as he gave the order for the snakes to charge, but Gamahiro's blades stopped him in his tracks as he slashed at the two serpents, pushing them back. The serpents hissed at the toad, and Gamario yelled, "If you wish to harm them, you will have to go through me, serpents. And to think once upon a time I called you allies." The snakes slithered about, attempting to pounce on the toad from every angle. However, Jiraiya continued to fight, hurrying through hand signals. "Earth style. Swamp of the underworld," he exclaimed, causing the earth beneath one of the snakes to turn into mud and engulf half of its body in it. As soon as the toad saw an opportunity, he screamed, "Damn, not fully buried, this drug is messing me up. But it's enough for you, Gamahiro," and severed the snake's head. When one of the summons died, Orochimaru leapt off its head just in time, causing its body to go limp. "Kabuto," he exclaimed, and when Kabuto nodded, he gave the command for his snake to coil around the toad's torso and stifle the enormous amphibian. Gamahiro cried out, "Slithery bastard." As the snake bit into him, his arms barely able to move. Giving the toad a poison injection. "Gah!" he exclaimed, hearing Jiraiya swear. Jiraiya leapt off to help, shouting, "Hold on, Gamahiro." But Orochimaru stopped him in his tracks. "Well then, shall we go for round 2? "If you insist," Jiraiya said, giving his erstwhile teammate a fierce look. The two glared at one another before fighting, and Orochimaru grinned. His neck stretched to attack the toad sage, and Orochimaru charged at him. Jiraiya yelled, "You tried this already, remember?" While he covered his body in thick hair spikes and used his needle Jizo technique. Had Jiraiya not dodged the blade, Orochimaru would have yelled, but not this. As his sword shot out of his mouth and headed straight toward Jiraiya. Orochimaru swallowed the sword back into his throat, and Jiraiya cursed, "Damn. I should have known that damn sword would come back to you. The Kusanagi sword is inextricably linked to me. It understands when to submit to its master and will always find its way back to me," he said, causing Jiraiya's hair to regrow and Orochimaru's neck to take on its typical appearance. Orochimaru grinned as Jiraiya remarked, "You haven't changed at all. You always did like to control everything you owned. And you're still as stupid as you were perverted. I will admit your new apprentice is not as untalented as I originally assumed, actually becoming quite annoying. His growth has far exceeded my expectations. But despite his new prowess, he's still no Sasuke. The boy has amazing talent, a powerful bloodline, and the power of the Sharingan, which will allow him to master any jutsu in the world. Not even I would be able to beat that kind of power. So why would you take on a common street kid? Talent is what matters to a shinobi, and Sasuke has plenty of it," the Toad Sage laughed. Orochimaru scoffed, staring at Naruto, Kabuto, and Shizune. "Even after all these years you still don't get it. Sure that Sasuke kid has amazing talent, and could be one of the most powerful shinobi when he gets older. But there's one thing you've never understood. It's not talent that matters to a shinobi. It's having the will to never give up in that kid. He's got that in spades," he said. "I guess we'll find out who's right in the end. If he can survive Kabuto, that is," before turning to face his erstwhile teammate once more, and the two got into an altercation. In the meantime, Kabuto leapt off the snake's head and charged at Tsunade, Naruto, and Shizune in an effort to kill the other two and seize Tsunade, who was still unconscious. Shizune, however, would have none of it. She lunged at Kabuto and shot poisoned Senbon in his direction as he managed to dodge the blow. He said, "A fellow medical ninja, I see. That poison would certainly do some damage if I'm not careful," as he thrust the poison at Shizune's chest while his hands glowed sharply with charka. Had she not been able to make the time travel leap? She yelled, "Nina Art, poison fog," and released a thick cloud of toxic smoke from her mouth. With a curse, Kabuto dove into the smoke. Shizune forced her gaze to focus on the smoke, and when it parted, she saw that Kabuto had vanished. "Where did he go?" she exclaimed, but before she could finish her sentence, two hands reached up and grasped her ankles. The tendons in her legs were immediately sliced by Kabuto's chakra scalpels. "My tendons!" she cried out in agony as Kabuto smirked before striking her in the neck to render her unconscious. Naruto cried out, "Shizune!" as he saw Kabuto knock Shizune unconscious and Gamahiro being built by the snake. Naruto glared and cursed, "Damn it. I need to do something." But he knew Kabuto was far more skilled and experienced than him. "But not above my unpredictable nature," Naruto reasoned as he resolved to follow through on his plan. Kabuto turned to face Naruto, who was grinning as the clones and genin held their ground. Tsunade broke out of her catatonic state and looked up at Naruto, warning him to step aside or else he would have to kill him. Naruto glared. She begged, "Naruto, go. Get out of here." But Naruto shook his head. "He's just going to try and kill me anyway. So the least I can do is stand my ground. Besides, my sensei taught me that those who abandon the mission are trash, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. And despite what you said, you're still a ninja of the hidden leaf. Which makes you my comrade, and I never give up on my comrades. That's my ninja way." Naruto screamed as he crossed his fingers. He yelled, "Shadow Clone Jutsu." As Kabiato's vision was obscured by a puff of smoke. He then heard several shurikens rush through the smoke. Ninja Art. Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. Prior to their respective numbers multiplying to 12. With a small curse, he pulled out a kunai knife and began to deflect some of the shurikens, ducking back to stop the projectiles. Suddenly, one of the shuriken transformed into Naruto, holding a kunai, and grinning at the shinobi with glasses. "I've seen this trick, Naruto. I was at the Chunin exams. You won't take me by." As the Naruto clone attempted to stab Kabuto, he missed and stabbed Naruto in the back instead, yelling, "Surprise." Just as the clone exploded, Kabuto's eyes widened, and Naruto smirked and kicked it away. He cursed as several Naruto clones charged at him from the sides, their knives coated in wind chakra as they lunged at Kabuto, who wisely dodging their blades. Damn it. I almost forgot shadow clones were not his only specialty, he also knows the exploding shadow clone jutsu. The fact he combined it with a transformation jutsu is annoyingly brilliant. The man exclaimed. That implies he's going to have incorporated an additional detonating clone amidst the shadow clones. Cunning little fox. He exclaimed, then leapt back and unleashed multiple shurikens. The clones were hit all at once as they were destroyed in a single explosion and puffs of smoke. But you're not the only one that knows this jutsu. Ninja art. Shuriken shadow clone jutsu. Damn it. Naruto yelled as his clones were destroyed, and then Kabuto materialized in front of him, striking him fatally in the chest. Naruto let out a painful gasp and thanked his chakra scalpel for that. Tsunade saw a vision of her brother's death again and yelled, Naruto. This is the end for you, Naruto, laughed Kabuto while Naruto gave him a rough cough. He cleared his throat, I agree. For you, and then smiled as Kabuto's eyes grew wide. He swiftly kicked the boy away as it exploded. Two more Naruto clones charged at him from behind the rocks, swinging their kunai at him, but he was able to dodge them. Another exploding clone. You are a cheeky fox, Naruto. He yelled. The real Naruto cursed as he stood in front of Tsunade, and Kabuto said, no wind chakra this time? You must be running low then if your clones are facing me with regular kunais. I'll admit you're giving me a lot more trouble than you would have a month ago. But I can still see that you have no chance against Maya Yuro. Naruto yelled, clutching his knife in a reverse grip, maybe. But I'd rather go down fighting than let you harm anyone else. Naruto nodded and Kabuto lectured him, brave words. But they do very little without the strength to back it up. I know. But like you said, I'm a cheeky bastard, he smiled, causing Kabuto to look perplexed. Then, he heard a whistle, and a Naruto clone crawled towards his head, attached to the snakes that bound Gamahiro. The clone screamed, hey, snake bastard. Try eating this. And displayed the exploding tags attached to its chest before exploding and severing a large portion of its head as it collapsed to the ground. Gamahiro managed to break free from the stifling snake, causing the snake's body to slack. Gamahiro yelled as he raised and brought down his massive blade, thank you Naruto. Sama, allow me to return the favor. Kabuto cursed as he narrowly avoided the massive blade as it raised a massive cloud of dust. Jiraiya smiled at the sight of Orochimaru cursing and the two pausing their fight. Damn it. With a heavy breath, Gamahiro said, that kid never ceases to surprise me. Jiraiya exclaimed. Gamahiro said to them, that's all I can do now. I have to go back to Mount Myoboku to treat my injuries and remove the poison. I leave the rest to you, Naruto. Sama, Jiraiya. Sama. Then he vanished. Kabuto, meanwhile, could hardly see 2 feet in front of him and was hacking up dust from his lungs. Oh no. That brat is getting on my nerves. Where are you, Naruto? He yelled, just before a sudden gust of wind hit him, widening his eyes and revealing Naruto charging at him from behind. He was so focused on landing the jutsu that the dust was blown away as he ran forward, a ball of pure condensed chakra spiraling in his hands. Naruto yelled, eat this. As he pushed the jutsu against Kabuto's chest. Though Kabuto was no slouch, he was able to dodge the jutsu and was about to break Naruto's thigh bone with his chakra scalpel had ninja wire not moved Naruto out of the way. After blinking, Kabuto turned to see 2 clones of Naruto and ninja wire encircling Naruto's waist. Ha 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 Euro, I see a Euro, clever Euro, you knew I could easily dodge your attack, so you made sure that you'd have an emergency plan to pull you out of the way. Clever, you've matured, haven't you, Naruto? But it still doesn't matter. I'm a decade your senior, I have more experience than you can ever imagine and I'm not one to fall for the same moves twice a Euro. Kabuto pulled out 2 kunai as he raised, so what will you do now? Tsunade stood by, observing as Naruto merely stared and crossed his fingers. Take a leaf out of your book, Naruto remarked, causing Kabuto to furrow his brow. Suddenly, a Naruto clone appeared from behind him, piercing his ankles with 2 kunai. Kabuto went limp and cried out, Gah! That little bitch! He was tunneling beneath my feet the entire time, diverting my attention. Shadow clones share their knowledge when they fade, so he knew I would stand right here. That petty idiot! As he used a kunai to hit the clone in the head, Kabuto realized. However, the tendons in his Achilles' heels were severed, so he was immobile. He performed an identical ruse to what I did with Tsunade's apprentice. I have to get this fixed. Just as he thought he was going to heal them, he heard a chakra form and saw Naruto dash towards him while brandishing another Rasengan. Naruto yelled, "I've got you now," while grasping the whirling orb. With a curse, Kabuto grasped his kunai and, with no other option, waited until Naruto was almost upon him. He narrowly avoided the boy and struck his chest with his chakra scalpel, severing the jutsu and making the boy gasp in agony. Tsunade gasped in agony and yelled, "Naruto." Kabuto grinned at him. He raised a blade to finally put an end to the boy, saying, "I win." Naruto, but then the boy in front of him grinned. "Want to bet?" The Naruto in front vanished into a cloud of smoke, and Kabuto's eyes widened as the ground exploded behind him and another one appeared, holding a ball of chakra. "A shadow clone," he exclaimed, realizing too late as he turned on his knees and saw Naruto pushing the ball against him. When Naruto pushed the ball into Kabuto's chest and yelled, "Rasengan," the jutsu crashed into Kabuto, causing the latter to scream, "Try and dodge this." The jutsu started to chisel away at the sound ninja, widening his eyes. As the Rasengan dug into his chest, he could feel his entire body vibrating, his muscles being torn, and his bones rattling. With a swift thought, he directed his chakra towards his abdomen, summoned his concealed jutsu, and then snatched Naruto's chest. By then, though, his whole body had already been propelled across the field like a catapult before he slammed hard into a boulder. Tsunade lay in stunned amazement, staring at Kabuto lying against the crater carved out of the stone. The Rasengan broke his body, tearing and shredding his abdomen. Naruto was panting heavily from using too much energy to create several Rasengans at once. Jiraiya and Orochimaru even put down their fight to examine the scene. "It's not skill that defines a ninja. It's the determination to never give up," Jiraiya proudly remarked, staring at his pupil, Godson. As Orochimaru gave a scowl. Did he succeed in learning the Rasengan? It's impossible that a child of his age could have learned such a jutsu. Even Minato took years to develop and perfect it. He shouldn't have grown this powerful. Orochimaru growled, beginning to reconsider how serious of a threat Naruto might pose. He mastered the Rasengan in a week? Tsunade exclaimed, gazing at the boy in amazement. Naruto managed to say, "Take that," before feeling his heart race and blood spurt out of his mouth. Naruto remembered the last few moments and dropped to his knees, saying, "Shit." Was that when he? Shit. Kabuto. He must have got me when I attacked him. Damn it, Naruto thought to himself, cursing. As he struggled to emerge from the crater, Kabuto managed to cough out, "Ha. Ha. Nice try." Tsunade gasped, "Why? You survived." As she looked in shock at the sound shinobi, who appeared to be brushing off one of the strongest jutsu ever created. As the damage to his chest started to heal, Kabuto said, "I took precautions and sent chakra into my chest to begin healing myself. I didn't expect him to use a jutsu like that." Before all of the damage from the Rasengan was fully healed, Kabuto said, "Lord Orochimaru values me not because of the use of my jutsu, or my knowledge, but rather for my healing abilities. By using my chakra I can command my body to start creating new cells to replace my damaged ones. I apologize to Naruto, but this is the extent of your abilities." Kabuto said, moving forward to eliminate the Uzumaki. But he only managed to take one step before collapsing to his knees. He fell into the earth, his body exploding with agony. "Impossible a euro. The extent of the harm exceeded my body's capacity for healing." That kind of power was within his jutsu. Kabuto was lying in the dirt, barely able to raise his head, and he was unable to move a finger at all. While Tsunade hurried over and gave the boy a distressed look, Naruto was coughing up blood. She put her ear to his chest to listen for his heartbeat, which was irregular and becoming weaker. Shit. His heart's surrounding muscles must have been torn apart. When Naruto was about to attack, Kabuto must have taken the action. Tsunade quickly undid his clan chest piece, took off his hoodie, and sliced open his shirt, speculating. "I have to take immediate action." As she began using her medical ninjutsu to repair the damage, she thought to herself. However, she saw Dan and her brother beside him as they passed away before her, and her hands trembled. He, it's too late. I injured his muscles so much that he can't be revived. This is where he dies, Kabuto scoffed, taking pleasure in the boy's death for getting in his master's way. Tsunade yelled, shut up. As she gave the boy more healing chakra. Avoid dying. Stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. As she frantically attempted to preserve his life, she repeated herself over and over. As Naruto's life was gradually fading inside the seal, the nine-tailed fox observed the surroundings around him becoming darker. The nine-tails asked, feeling himself getting weaker and weaker, what is this? His eyes started to slowly close, and he asked, why is it getting so dark? He saw light suddenly coming from within the shadows, and for a split second, he believed he saw someone he hadn't seen in a while. A man with a headband around his head and a light-colored kimono with magatama adorning the collar. Even with his back to him, he was certain he had seen that spiky hair before. However, the ghostly image disappeared, leaving the fox very perplexed. The fox asked the empty cell, "Whoa Euro, who was that?" "A Euro, no you a Euro, don't I?" Before turning back to sleep. As Tsunade grew more desperate and wept over the memories of those she lost and how her gamble had cost another life, she kept pumping chakra into the boy. She opened her eyes to see Naruto's smug expression when she felt a hand grab her necklace. He managed to say, "Hey, I won, by the way," before collapsing. Incredible. How on earth did he make it through that? Tsunade regarded in shock, but Kabuto was taken aback, and then she experienced a wave of relief. She was so happy for the boy that she shed a tear. She removed the necklace from around her neck and carefully put it around his. Of course. It's your dream to become Hokage after all. You've won. Hands down. Take care of this, she said, gently putting her head down. And realize your aspiration. She closed her eyes, feeling the smiles from Dan and Iwaki as they vanished from her thoughts. She had, at last, prevented the necklace's curse from taking a life that would have otherwise been inevitable. And for the first time in a very long time, she experienced serenity. Orochimaru scowled as he watched his protege be defeated by the Uzumaki. Unbelievable. To think a child like him would have mastered the Rasengan at such a young age. He's no ordinary brat, he said. Jiraiya boasted, yeah, he has a real knack for surprising people. Poor Kabuto underestimated him, as Orochimaru smirked at his state of disarray. Orochimaru remarked, that child is not looking too good, while Jiraiya grinned. The toad wise man cautioned, Tsunade is the best medical ninja there is, he'll be fine. Now stop talking and fight already, but Orochimaru was concentrating on Naruto. That child is progressing beyond my expectations for a commoner like him. He might even be more powerful than Sasuke right now. It will be a hassle if he encounters the Akatsuki, so it would be best to kill him now. It's okay, he thought as he threw himself at the boy. Jiraiya gave chase, saying, damn it. Get back here. But Orochimaru shot out his tongue and wrapped it around his leg. He yelled, what the? Before colliding with the ground. The snake user produced the Kusanagi from his mouth and aimed it straight at the unconscious Naruto, using the momentum to swing towards him. Nevertheless, Tsunade moved in his path and deflected the blow with her own body just before he could reach her target. Tsunade coughed up blood and her body shook from her hemophobia. Tsunade, I wasn't trying to kill you. But that boy is becoming too much of a nuisance. He may even cause me problems later down the line. Don't get in my way, he said, warning her. Nevertheless, she remained unmoving. He barely withdrew the sword from her chest as Orochimaru glared, I won't let you a Euro, I'm going to protect him a Euro no matter what. He gave her a sly smile as she coughed up blood from her lips. Are you now? While you're trembling from the mere sight of blood? In the old days, I'd have believed that declaration. You were one of the legendary three after all. But this you, the one who's suffered the most from pain and loss, after all you've been through. Why would you risk your life for a mere brat? To safeguard the hidden leaf, she said, giving him a fierce look. She laughed at him, coughing up blood. Protect the hidden leaf? You must be joking? She asked. With all sincerity, she told him, I'm not. It might sound stupid, but I believe this child is the future Hokage of Konoha, to which the snake Sannin scoffed. He exclaimed, "Who are you kidding? Do you actually care about the Hokage title? Don't bore me with that ridiculous, Hokage's dream, nonsense. The Hokage is a worthless and outdated title. Anyone who wants to claim that title is a fool or a dead man." As Tsunade recalled all the times she had cursed the Hokage title and as those around her reminded her of the commitment and sacrifice they had made to guarantee the dream of her grandfather being protected. Then she looked directly at him and started to laugh. "I guess I'm a fool too, because I'm willing to risk everything for the same dream," she exclaimed, drawing Kusanagi out of Orochimaru's mouth with a sneer. He slashed his blade across her chest as she fell onto her back, saying, "Then perish along with him." Shizune and Jiraiya had just regained consciousness when they saw Tsunade fall by his blade. As Jiraiya swore and struggled to stand up, the poison was still in his system and his body ached. "Lady Tsunade!" exclaimed Shizune. As his blade gleamed with Tsunade's blood, Orochimaru approached Naruto's unconscious form and said, "A shame you gave your life for nothing. I truly did require your help to restore my arms. But I guess I'll just have to find another means. But now to deal with the boy." Orochimaru smirked and swung his blade down, thinking, "Once this is done, I may just take the body with me. Who knows, his corpse could contain such useful data." However, he was shocked to see that Tsunade had once again shielded Naruto's unconscious body, the blade severing her right ribs. "What? I've already told you," Tsunade smiled at him. Orochimaru sneered as he kicked Tsunade away, trying to kill Naruto once more. "I won't let you harm him." He paused, though, to laugh at Tsunade, whose body trembled at the sight of blood. Tsunade's hand trembled as they abruptly stopped. "Look at you, you're nothing more than a half dead corpse at this point. And still, you try to protect some worthless child? No matter how tough you appear to be, you can't escape the fear of blood. The curse of your past failures," he mocked. He managed to say, "What?" before taking a kick to the face. His eyes grew wide, and he managed to stand back up. Tsunade gasped and got to her feet, saying, her trembling stopped. "That's impossible. Oh Orochimaru, you never could understand human devotion and willpower for someone so focused on ninjutsu. This kid has taught me that nothing is impossible, so starting now, I will protect the hidden leaf." She looked up, glaring at him directly as the mark on her forehead grew. "As the fifth Hokage of the hidden leaf," she exclaimed, widening Shizune's eyes as she proceeded through a series of hand gestures. All too late, as Tsunade pulled out her trump card, she yelled, "No. Lady Sunday. Let me heal you first. Don't activate the seal." Steam rose from her wounds and the seal on her face started to recede before closing up. "Ninja art. Meiotic regeneration," she exclaimed, leaving the wound itself completely forgotten. At this, Orochimaru's eyes twisted, and he gave a gloomy laugh. "So a Euro, it seems I'm not the only one that developed their ninjutsu. What have you created over the past few years, Tsunade?" "Hime a Euro. Oh, this? Just a little something I've been working on for the last few years. I've been gathering and storing the chakra into the seal on my forehead for a while now. Once activated, I'm able to stimulate my body into releasing enzymes that accelerate cell reproduction at a rapid pace. I can use it to reconstruct damaged organs and parts of my body in record time. It's not a simple healing jutsu, it's cellular regeneration a Euro. Technically with this activated, I can't be killed in battle," she clarified as Orochimaru raised his eyebrows at this little-known fact. "However, Lady Tsunade, the cells have a limited capacity for replication. You will only shorten your lifespan if you continue to use it." Shizune was filled with anxiety and fear for her master. She said, wiping some of the blood from her lips, "Which is all I need to finish you off once and for all," and started going through hand signals. Kabuto recognized it right away. He yelled, "Lord Orochimaru." As Orochimaru nodded and hurried to Kabuto. Jiraiya himself made the decision to try a different summoning jutsu in a risky move. The three went through a series of hand signals before placing them on the ground and shouting, "Let's just hope this works." 3 massive plumes of smoke appeared across the field, and 3 large animals appeared in their places, calling out, "Summoning jutsu." Gamabunta, the toad boss of Mount Myoboku, was standing tall in the field with Jiraiya perched atop him, so one was already well known. The other was a large purple snake with 4 protrusions on its head that resembled horns and black rings running the length of his body. Kabuto and Orochimaru were standing atop his head. The other was a large white slug-like creature with 3 blue streaks that tapered off at the tail and ran vertically down the middle and sides of its body. Its 2 sensory tentacles on either side of its mouth were paired with slightly gray tinted optical tentacles. Naruto was on his back, unconscious, and Tsunade was standing on her head. These were Katsuyu from the Shikatsu Forest and Manda from the Ria-Kai Cave. Collectively, they represented the call of the feminine Sannin. This was the first time they had been called together since the Second World War. Gazing at his former companions, Gamabunta said, "Katsuyu and Tsunade. Manda and Orochimaru. It's been a while. Oi Jiraiya, are you planning some sort of twisted reunion? You know I didn't bring anything for the party." Gambunta nodded and Jiraiya said, "Now's time for jokes, Gamabunta. This has been a long time coming. It's time we finished what we started at the exams. Alright, I suppose I could offer some snake kebabs?" Gamabunta asked, grabbing his Tonto blade. Manda hissed as his gaze fell on Gamabunta and Katsuyu. "Orochimaru, what is the meaning of this? Why have you summoned me to this pitiful land?" Manda asked. His glare directed at his summoner and with these 2 of all creatures. "I thought you cut ties with your home decades ago?" His eye moved to his head. "Do you want me to eat you?" When Kabuto attempted to reason with Lord Manda, Manda hissed. "Lord Manda, I can assure you, you will be duly rewarded for your troubles, Maj." Kabuto wisely shut up, and Manda yelled, "Was I talking to you, brat? Keep your mouth shut or I'll eat you as well." Manda demanded as Kanuto swallowed nervously, "Orochimaru. I expect no more than 100 human sacrifices for summoning me here. If you don't, I will surely eat you. This is not good." Even though Orochimaru is Manda's master, Manda can be a challenging summon to manage. He will double-cross us if he discovers that Lord Orochimaru is unable to use his arms, but there was nothing else to be done considering the circumstances. Even though it was a dangerous one, too, Kabuto fretted as Orochimaru just gazed. Katsuyu turned to face her former allies and remarked, "Lady Tsunade, it's been a while since you last summoned me. I never expected to see so many familiar faces." Tsunade gave a nervous laugh before refocusing. "I hope you've been taking care of yourself and not spent the last few years drinking and gambling again?" Katsuyu inquired. She commanded, "Katsuyu, please take this child away from here. This battle is going to be vicious," and Katsuyu gave her a nod. She broke off a piece of herself that was exactly like her, save for the drastic reduction in size. "Yes, my lady," she said. When the Katsuyu clone crashed in front of Shizune, she had just finished curing her tendons. "Katsuyu." Shizune reluctantly nodded and removed Naruto from her back. "Shizune. Sama, please take care of this child and get yourself somewhere safe. I believe this battle will become quite dangerous if you remain here," the Katsuyu clone said. "Thank you, Naruto. I hope you get some rest." She turned to face the 3, realizing that this might be the last time the legendary Sannin would engage in open combat. "Be careful, Lady Tsunade. I wish you luck," she said, pulling Naruto from the fight. A light breeze blew between the 6 as they stared at each other, and a single flower with 3 petals left swayed between them. But as the petals fell one by one, the tension built until the final petal fell and the battle started. Slime with acid. As Manda rapidly dodged the attack, Katsuyu shot a stream of acid from her orifice, melting the stone in the process. Manda struck fast, coiling around Katsuyu and constricting himself around the slug summon. Gamabunt charged in with his blade aimed at the serpent's head, but Manda managed to sidestep the steel and then clamped down hard, effectively trapping the weapon in his powerful jaws. All the while, Manda was building together around the slug. "Hey! Katsuyu!" Manda swung his tail towards Gamabunta, who had no choice but to let go of his blade and hop back to a safe distance. Manda threw the blade at the toad, who narrowly avoided being impaled by his weapon. The blade landed just in front of Katsuyu, who had reformed herself as Tsunade jumped back onto her head. Tsunade yelled as she leapt off the slug's head. The slug broke apart into multiple smaller versions of herself, effectively freeing herself from Manda's grasp. "Tsunade. Katsuyu remained back." Jiraiya yelled, making hand gestures, "Boss, give me some oil." Exactly. When Jiraiya completed the final seal and inhaled air, the toad's throat grew larger. Toad Oil Flamethrower, Fire Style. The pair combined their fire and oil to create a massive flame that scorched the land and Manda in front of them, as they were consumed by the flames. When the flames settled, they eyed the charred corpse carefully, before noticing the body was hollow. "It's just skin." The bastard shed his skin to avoid the flames. As the ground gave way in front of them and something rose up from the earth, their focus was diverted downward. After stopping the attack, Gamabunta realized it was only the tail, and Manda's head appeared from behind him, ready to eat the toad with his jaws agape. Actually, he would have if Tsunade hadn't picked up Gamabunta's massive blade and impaled the front of his mouth to the ground. Oh no. While he was pinned to the ground, Manda yelled, "And keep your mouth shut." As Orochimaru swore, Tsunade glared from the top of the blade. "We've exhausted ourselves fighting two of them at once, and it's difficult to do so without my arms. I just need a clean shot." The muscles in her arm bulged slightly as she gathered as much chakra as she could and delivered a powerful blow to his jaw, slamming him back down into Manda's scales. Orochimaru wrapped his tongue around Tsunade's neck, hoping to strangle the life out of her. This was a bad idea, though, as she managed to free herself from his stranglehold and pulled him towards her with his tongue. Original Orochimaru. Not good. That last attack went straight for his jaw. Manda felt he had had enough as he stared at the scene. Kabuto yelled as he saw his master lying broken and exhausted. "How dare you treat me like a parody? If this hole weren't in my head, I would kill you all and eat you. Orochimaru, I'm about to go. Clean up this mess by yourself. Please don't keep me waiting. I still expect my offerings. And for everyone else, get ready for when I see you again." Manda went back to the Ria Kai cave as Tsunade managed to escape his tongue and Orochimaru slithered over to Kabuto's side. "Looks like we should call it quits for the time being. This day has gone on for too long," Kabuto suggested as Orochimaru nodded and felt his face begin to peel. Tsunade's eyes widened and Jiraiya scowled, revealing his true body. So that's what the old man was talking about. The bastard found a way to transfer himself into a new body. Orochimaru retreated, saying, "Even though Tsunade won't heal my arms, we will just have to find another way to restore my arms. But know that I will destroy the hidden leaf." At that point, the ground began to swallow him. "But pay attention, my erstwhile allies. This is my route to eternal life. This is who I really am. I have eternal life. And you will perish in the ground while I accomplish my objectives." Orochimaru exclaimed as he vanished, and Kabuto soon after. The three of them soon found themselves gathered around an unconscious Naruto, who was wearing the necklace around his neck. Jiraiya grinned as he looked at Tsunade. "Well, that could have gone better," he said, clutching his ribs. But at least he didn't get what he wanted. Tsunade herself was feeling tired. He said, "You still suck at bets, Tsunade," as she stared and then grinned. "It seems like he already mastered it." He nodded and she asked. "Yes, he succeeded in doing so 3 days ago. A small tip to speed up his jutsu mastery. Later, I'll tell you about it. However, I asked him not to tell you because we needed to know exactly which side you were on. He detests lying, so he didn't like it." "It's okay, I'm willing to lose this bet," she remarked just before her jutsu started to take effect and her skin wrinkled. "Lady Tsunade." Jiraiya's eyes grew wide as he witnessed his friend start to age in front of his own, while Shizune was worried. "It's alright, I should be back to normal in a day or two. Come with me back to the village so we can recover." Jiraiya just gave her a worried look as Tsunade spoke. "I need to heal you and then get the rest of the poison out of your system before we head back to the village." "Tsunade. Don't refer to me like that. Please address me as the 5th Hokage going forward. I never desired this role and never had the same aspirations as Dan or Nawaki. However, I will exert every effort to continue their dream when the time comes." She said, "Pass it on to the next Hokage." Jiraiya nodded as they picked up the genin and made their way back to the village so he could heal. The following day, with the necklace that Naruto had won securely around his neck, the 4 shinobi stood outside Tanzaku town's gates, intent on making their way back to Konoha. Jiraiya stretched his muscles and said, "Okay, I don't know much about you, but I am ready to leave this dump. That was a heck of a battle, makes me realize I'm getting too old for this. And yet, you'll scale almost any fence to get a better look at women?" Jiraiya scoffed as Naruto accused her. I know I'm too old for this, but when it comes to the ladies, I still have the strength of a bull. It was before Tsunade struck his head and left him in a pit that he declared. Will you stop talking, pervert? God, you haven't changed at all in all these years. Shizune laughed nervously, Naruto gulped nervously, and Tsunade growled as Jiraiya twitched on the ground. Naruto shook his head, thinking, it's like Sakura Chan from the future. Why did that scare me for some reason? So, you're going to be the new Hokage? Tsunade nodded and Naruto questioned. Yes, I am. Do you have a problem with it? As Naruto shrugged, she questioned. Well, not really. I think you're cool because you defeated that Orochimaru guy and you didn't turn on the village. In addition, I intend to succeed you as Hokage in the future. It sounds good to call someone Naruto the Rokudame, doesn't it? He said, and hey, I'm sorry I didn't tell you I already won the bet, as she laughed and smirked. Lying to people bothers me, so I felt bad about it. However, I am aware that shinobi occasionally have to do this, Naruto remarked, dismissively waving Tsunade's hand. It's okay, don't worry. The first rule for kids who like to gamble is to never reveal your hand. You won the pot because you didn't reveal your cards to anyone. Naruto nodded and fiddled with the necklace in his hands as she told him to take good care of it since it's unique. He said, I will, but then he felt his headband pulled up, and Tsunade gave him a quick kiss on the forehead, just like she had done with Dan and Nawaki all those years ago. Her words, become a good man, and achieve that dream, caused Naruto to blink in bewilderment before he grinned and nodded. Naruto Uzumaki smiled brightly as the four of them set out on their journey home. Although Dan and Nawaki had passed away before their dream could come true, Naruto Uzumaki's spirit and passion endured because he carried the dreams of all those who had aspired to become Hokage, in addition to the dreams of those who had come before them. Omake. Grab your wallet and run. A few days had passed since the Battle of the Three, and Tsunade, Shizune, Jiraiya, Tun, and Naruto were returning to Konoha, their bodies healed, their spirits high, and they were making the official announcement of the arrival of the fifth Hokage, Tsunade Senju. Not only was Tsunade a highly skilled medical ninjutsu expert, but she was also the Hokage, and her expertise would prove crucial in the rehabilitation of the more seriously wounded shinobi. So pervy. Sage, do you think anyone will get promoted now that Tsunade is going to be the Hokage? Naruto walked beside him and inquired. I told you not to call me that anymore. With a laugh from Tsunade, he yelled, well, the promotions can start up again once Tsunade returns. The Hokage and the Shinobi Council assess each candidate to decide if they are qualified for advancement. This is how the system operates. You would advance even if you lost a fight in the final round if you demonstrated the abilities required of a Chunin. Naruto nodded as Jiraiya said, so you could win all the matches with brute force, but if you don't show your tactical skills it's unlikely you'd be promoted. Do you think I have a chance of getting promoted? To be honest, I was acting more strategically at the time. However, I should have given up during Gaara's attack like Shikamaru did and let the Jonin in the stand handle him. It was reckless, and I just couldn't. I apologize if I don't get promoted. Naruto hung his head, worried about his prospects of advancement. Kid, don't worry. I'm sure the old man has thought of you for a promotion. Ever since the academy, you've changed. You're taking a little more time to consider things and aren't jumping in like you used to. Yes, strategy and intelligence are vital. But it's a moot point if a shinobi lacks the bravery or the guts necessary to finish the task, he remarked, grinning as Naruto looked on. He growled, thanks. Pervy. Sage, as a blood vessel appeared on his head. Well, you little brat, I hope you don't get promoted. Tsunade grinned and Naruto chuckled. Gives me hope for the future, Shizune said, gazing at her master with a smile on her face. He's a lot like Nawaki was at his age, Tsunade remarked before turning to face the boy. I'm happy that Lady Tsunade, you're grinning more. Tsunade blinked and then grinned, you're much happier than you used to be, she remarked. The deaths of Dan and Nawaki weighed upon her soul, but they weren't as heavy as before, and for that, she was grateful for the young man who had rekindled the spark she had lost so long ago. Yeah. I suppose I am, she said as she walked down the street, truly feeling happier than she had in a long time. Her compulsive need overriding her, she followed her gaze to the sign ahead, recalling that there was a gambling town nearby. Hey, you are aware that we have been strolling for some time. How about we pull over at the next town? Shizune sighed and she said. Naruto arched an eyebrow as she moaned, I knew this would happen. Unozato is a hot spring town that's known for its revitalizing hot springs and gambling spots. What? Why is stopping necessary? Jiraiya nodded, and Naruto grumbled, we ought to be returning to the village. I have to admit, Naruto is right. We can't afford to put things off because the village is in a state of emergency. Jiraiya concurred as Tsunade dismissively waved her hand. If we're a day or two late, it won't matter, it's all right. They both shook their heads at her argument, so she had to play the trump card. I hear they allow mixed bathing, she whispered into Jiraiya's ear as his eyes grew big and he headed for the town. Besides, we could use the little break after that whole deal with Orochimaru, she said. You know, it's crucial to occasionally take a break and relax. He let out a cry as Nato gave him a forehead slap. A compulsive gambler and a pervert Euro, where had my life gone wrong? Shizune nodded in agreement as he asked. Tsunade passed some pachinko parlors along the way, and the strangest thing was that most of them were staring at them strangely. The four of them traveled off the path until they reached the hot spring town, a stride in her step. Is it just me, or are all eyes on us? Naruto inquired as he observed that every gambling den they passed was staring at them strangely. Jiraiya, who was more interested in the mixed bathing hot springs, remarked, it's bound to happen when the legendary sucker walks into town, while Tsunade gave her former teammate a glare. Shizune said, surveying her surroundings, I don't know. I think they see us as an easy target every time they see us. These expressions seem more fearful? Tsunade blinked and peered around as she spoke. Now that you bring it up, that is definitely strange, she remarked as she approached the gambler's den. The man turned to face the boy and said, ah, welcome to Silverfish Casino Bar. How might I? Wait a minute, that child? Naruto arched a brow at him. Blonde hair. Blue eyes. Whisker marks on his cheeks. What about me, huh? Naruto inquired. Nothing. It's just that there's a rumor circulating about someone who fits those descriptions and wins every game he plays. It's said that he has extraordinary luck. The man remarked, they say he is the opposite of the legendary sucker, as Tsunade's eyebrow quirked and Naruto shrugged. Wow, strange. Naruto leaned back on a slot machine and said, but I don't think it's me. The machine slots spun until they all landed on 7, at which point they all spat out a ton of coins, making Tsunade and the casino owner's eyes pop out of their heads. That's strange, Naruto remarked, causing the owner to tremble in fear. Oh Kami, that's him. The fabled golden fox of fortune. Then, with a shout, he turned to face the streets and said, everyone, run. It's the fabled golden fox of fortune. The other gaming parlors panicked and fled like headless chickens, closing their doors and yanking down their rollers as he screamed into the streets, stopping everyone in their tracks. Please take these winnings and depart from here. As he shoved a suitcase into Naruto's arms and slammed the door in their faces, he yelled, leaving the entire gambling street deserted while the four stared dumbfounded. What was the purpose of that? When Naruto opened the briefcase to reveal his recent slot machine winnings, he questioned, why does that keep happening? He inquired as Tsunade gazed at the substantial sum of money with wide eyes, collapsing to her knees and repeatedly hitting her fist on the floor. Oh no. It isn't just. I ought to have done it. Not by him. Why is he always so lucky? Naruto was perplexed and turned back to the other stunned people, but she cried as she cursed the fact that someone was born with an insane amount of good luck, while she was cursed with bad luck. At least when it came to gambling. Have I done anything? As Jiraiya and Shizune gazed at the boy and then fell to the ground, he asked. This child isn't normal. They all believed that Naruto was bewildered and wealthy, not realizing that his lucky gambling legend was spreading daily, whether he liked it or not. The Senju and Uchiha clans founded the village of Konohagakure a very long time ago. Of all the elemental nations, it is regarded as the strongest. Other countries highly desired the prowess and skill of this land's shinobi for their audacious missions. Leading them was the Fire's Shadow, the Hokage, who defended the village against all intruders and outsiders. As the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi guided his people for a while, trying to be as wise and patient as he could. Though he had long since learned to accept his decisions and not obsess over them, there were moments when he regretted his decisions. However, he was unable to carry out his duties as the third Hokage following his conflict with Orochimaru. That's where Tsunade Senju was useful. She was the granddaughter of the first Hokage, a well-known medical expert and one of his former students. She had the strength and experience to support her claim that she was the only person qualified to take on the role of Hokage. She was qualified to take charge of the village in his absence. Come on. Please. But as he watched the forms ascending the stairs to the Hokage Manor's roof, Sarutobi was beginning to second. Guess this. He wanted to see his lost student in a brighter place than the Hokage's office for this reunion, so he'd been told of their arrival and told them to meet him on the rooftop. But Tsunade appeared to be pleading with a displeased Naruto Uzumaki about something. Just go on one little trip to the casinos with me. I can make it worth your while? And I told you I don't care. If you want to gamble, go do it yourself. I don't like it. But I don't have your luck. You're so lucky that you bankrupted an entire casino. Just transform into me, win a few games and I'd be able to pay off all my debts in an hour. You wouldn't have debts if you stopped gambling. Have you thought about that? I am your Hokage. I can order you to gamble for me. That is highly irresponsible and a blatant misuse of your power. I won't take orders from a compulsive gambler. Give me your luck. I don't want it. Ahem. Sarutobi cried out, grabbing their attention with a loud cough. Tsunade gathered herself and said, as entertaining as this had been, I must say welcome back to the village. I'm glad to see you accomplished your mission, as she approached the elderly man who was now confined to a wheelchair. Hello Tsunade, he said in a friendly and warm voice, and she gave him a gentle smile. They were staring at each other when she said, Hey Sarutobi. Sensei. You look like crap, you should have retired long ago, Sarutobi said with a laugh. She grinned and gave him a hug. Yes, I probably should have, but the village needed me, and I will never turn my back on her. Besides, at least I get to see one of my favorite students again, he said. I'm glad you're back. Sarutobi nodded and sighed, looking out across the village. It wasn't exactly easy. We had a little trouble with Orochimaru, but we handled it. He is bent on destroying Konoha, isn't he? She gave him a shoulder pat. I still wonder if I could have pulled him back from the darkness before it was too late. But I suppose that chance has long slipped by, he said in regret. The man shook his head and she said, It's not your fault, things just happen. But I'm glad to see you're still alive and kicking. Do you want me to check over your legs? It's alright, this is something not even your medical ninjutsu can heal. It's the price I had to pay for keeping Konoha safe, and I don't regret a moment of it, he said as she nodded. One of the advisors, Homura, said, Tsunade Senju, and he and Kaharu bowed slightly to Tsunade. We are pleased to know you have decided to return to active duty. You've been absent for quite some time. And I see you two are still kicking around. Yes, I am back, it wasn't exactly my choice. But I lost a bet and now I have to fulfill my role as the Godem Hokage, Tsunade said while glaring at Kaharu. She asked, accusing, your gambling habit is not going to become an issue for the Leaf, is it? Tsunade shook her head. Don't worry, I have a few items from the clan I can sell to pay off my debt. Nothing that won't compromise the secrets of the village. And debt collectors will think twice about demanding anything from the village, she assured them with a nod. Although it would be beneficial if the brat there could win a couple of rounds for me and do a small favor for me? She asked, putting her hands in a pleading position and grinning her warmest smile at him. I told you I'm not gambling for you. It's a boring game. You are wasting your gift. The three sighed and shook their heads as Sarutobi, Kaharu, and Homura argued once more. It's a stupid gift. They exclaimed. In any case, we should formally announce the retirement of Sarutobi, and begin the coronation of the fifth Hokage. Gather the local lords and begin the inauguration proceedings. Genma, Aoba, go out and inform the public, Kaharu said with a nod. As Kaharu was ready to chastise the boy, Tsunade nodded and Naruto said, Hold up. Before anything, Tsunade needs to heal some people. As Jiraiya rolled his eyes, she said, Fair enough, that is part of the reason why you dragged me back here after all. Now who are the patients? As they began their journey to the hospital, Jiraiya said, We told you about them on the way back. Kakashi Hitaki, Sasuke Uchiha, and Rock Lee. They require the most attention. Following their departure, the remaining members of Team Tobirama started conversing with one another. As Kaharu nodded, Hamaru remarked, "We finally have a new Hokage. Hopefully, this will make the other countries think twice about messing with us. Having not one but two of the Sannin in the village should be enough to dissuade the neighboring villages." Tsunade was feared and respected for her strength and medical prowess. The two advisors raised an eyebrow before nodding, not wanting to deny their old friend his final request as Hokage. "In any case, now it's time I officially retired. But before then, there is one last matter I wish to attend to. The Chunin promotions. I would like to weigh my opinions before we make the final decisions," Sarutobi said. As Shikamaru and his father Shikaku Nara were being seen by Naruto, Tsunade, Shizune, and Jiraiya, they were descending the stairs. "Hey, Naruto, when did you get back?" As Shikamaru simply shrugged, he said, "Hey, Shikamaru. I just got back in today." "And what are you doing here?" "No clue, my dad told me to come along. I think he's trying to make me more active with shinobi politics or whatever." "It's such a drag," he grumbled as Naruto laughed. "What don't you find a drag?" He glared and said, "Not much. A major drag I have is when someone shoves me off a railing into a fight I wanted to quit." Naruto smiled. "Yeah, but it worked out, didn't it?" He complained, "I hate you so much," as Naruto chuckled. However, when he observed his father bending down to Tsunade and Jiraiya, he raised an eyebrow. "It's nice to see you again, Jiraiya." "Sama, Lady Tsunade," Shikaku bowed to the fifth Hokage. "I recognize you. You're that kid from the Nara clan, right? I remember dealing with your father ages back. The resemblance is uncanny." "How are the deer doing?" "Their antlers are useful ingredients for medicine," Tsunade said with a nod. "Yes, they're doing well. We didn't lose much during the invasion, and we've been supplying the hospital with as much as we could spare," he told her with a nod. Shikamaru, who had never seen Naruto treat anyone other than the Hokage and his advisors with such respect, exclaimed, "Hey Naruto, who's the lady and why is my old man bowing to her?" He told him, "That's the new Hokage Tsunade," and the man winced. He whispered into Shikamaru's ear, "I know, she doesn't look it but she's 50 years old," which shocked her greatly. Tsunade exclaimed, "Oi, come on, you wanted me to heal your friends." As Naruto nodded and hurried by. With the Nara boy staring, Naruto exclaimed, "We'll catch up later, Shikamaru." Shikamaru said, "She's the new Hokage? Doesn't look all that special," while his father smiled. "Looks can be deceiving. That is Tsunade Senju, one of the strongest and most beautiful shinobi the village has ever produced. She's granddaughter to the first Hokage and was a member of the Sannin under the old man," he told his son as he raised his forehead. Shikamaru grumbled as his father laughed, "What a drag. I just wanted to lay back and watch clouds, now there's a woman in charge of the village? Women are such a hassle." Shikamaru raised an eyebrow at him, lecturing, "Son, one day you'll learn that men are no good without women. Even the toughest are tender to the one they love, you'll understand that someday. Well, let's get going, we need to get these jobs done before your mother chews us out if we're late." He's got whipped. Sasuke's room at Konoha Hospital. Concerned for Sasuke, Sakura gazed at his unconscious form. He had been unconscious for weeks and still hadn't come to. Not even Kakashi had stirred. He was still as unconscious as Sasuke. Even though she knew there was nothing she could do, she couldn't help but feel so worthless by his side. Furthermore, since Naruto departed on his secret mission, she had not heard anything new about him. She was so nervous about everything that she wished there was something she could do to support them, but what? How could she respond? "Sasuke," she sighed worriedly, gazing into his face. She heard, coming in, and turned to see a rather attractive and somewhat gaunt woman instead of the usual nurse or doctor. "So this is the patient?" Sakura inquired, looking perplexed. "Who is she?" She thought, "She's so beautiful," but then she saw Naruto walking into the room. He grinned broadly at her. "Naruto, when did you get back?" "Hey Sakura. Chan, yeah, sorry for not coming by sooner, but guess what? Sasuke is going to be just fine now. This is Tsunade, she's the world's best medical ninjutsu specialist. She'll heal Sasuke up in no time," he said while Sakura was blinking. Glancing over at Tsunade, she asked, "Medical ninjutsu?" "That's correct, is this the medical expert that Guy-sensei mentioned they were bringing back? While Tsunade studied the space and took note of the new flowers in the vase, she asked herself, letting her know that she came here on a regular basis. She patted Sasuke Kun's head and smiled, asking, can you really help Sasuke Kun? She comforted her, don't worry, leave it to me, and walked over to put her hand on his forehead, where green chakra was glowing. Sakura stared, then her eyes grew wide as Sasuke slowly started to sit up and open his eyes. She attached herself to the still dazed and confused Uchiha, allowing tears to run down her cheeks. She exclaimed, Sasuke Kun, and gave the boy a bear hug. She was so happy and relieved that her long time crush was back to sleep. Sakura was crying a lot over Sasuke, and Naruto was fixated on the scene in front of him. He was aware of Sakura's repeated declarations of love for Sasuke throughout the academy. It was something that almost every girl in their grade was saying. However, it was obvious how much she genuinely cared for him. It was odd, though. He had expected to be depressed upon seeing this. Strangely, despite knowing that his crush was in love with someone else, he didn't. He was glad for them. He glanced at the two with a gentle smile. Naruto turned to leave the room, saying, it's about time you woke up, Sasuke. You were making Sakura worried sick about you. Glad to see you're okay now, come on let's go. We still got Kakashi Sensei to see. Tsunade gave the scene a knowing smile as she stared at it. It was similar to witnessing Jiraiya harbor crushes on her from their early years and tangentially recalling how hurt he had been when she first began dating Dan. Sakura burst out of the room as they were about to leave. Sakura exclaimed, wait, Naruto. As he came to a halt and furrowed his brow. She said, I know I don't say this often but. Thank you, as he gave her a quick blink. I can't begin to tell you how much this means to me. I know I call you annoying and an idiot, and I apologize for not appreciating you more as a member of Team 7. It's clear you're not the same as you were during the academy, and I just wanted to let you know that I do care about you as well. Even if I don't seem to, she said and then sighed. It's fine, you guys are my friends and there's nothing I won't do for my friends. And thanks a Euro, I appreciate you too. We're Team 7 after all, we gotta stick together. Now take care of Sasuke, can't have my rival hurting himself again, he said as he headed out the door. Sakura Chan waved back at him, and Tsunade raised an eyebrow before trailing behind him. Catch you later, Sakura Chan, he said. Tsunade smirked and asked, she seems nice, you want her to be your girlfriend? Naruto shook his head. Yeah, she's my friend and teammate. I mean, I like her, but... He shook his head as memories of her hugged Sasuke flashed through his mind. She likes Sasuke more than me, and strangely I'm okay with that a Euro, he said as he shrugged at this. Don't know why though? But on their way to Kakashi's room, he barely managed to catch sight of a familiar shade of dark blue hair as it was leaving a hospital room. I said, as she raised a brow at me. Is that? Yes, that is. Hi, Hinata. With a start, he yelled, and Hinata gave a small yelp before turning around and grinning broadly. Kun Naruto. Now that you're here, when did you return? Tsunade and Shizune looked at the two, and Jiraiya grinned, she said as Naruto ran up to her. I know it's only today, but why are you in the hospital? Are your wounds healing well? I assumed that by now you would be cleared? He looked her over and asked, his voice carrying a hint of concern. Oh no, I'm alright. My doctors cleared me several weeks ago for active duty. I'm here because, well, Kiba crashed into a tree and then into some poison ivy while attempting to convince Sensei that he would become a Chunin before you. She said, he's getting treated for rashes in a rather uncomfortably place. Naruto just stared, then erupted in laughter. It's not funny, Naruto. Kun. With a gentle scowl, she defended. It is, indeed. Ha 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 ha. How I wish I could have seen that. He spoke as Hinata gave him a gentle glare before her lips quirked and she burst out laughing as well. Hey. Anyway, how did your mission go? She asked, recalling Kiba dragging his butt across the floor. Oh. Okay, it was a little funny. Naruto nodded and she asked. It wasn't too horrible. We needed to locate the recently appointed Hokage, who specializes in medical ninjutsu. He gestured to Tsunade, who gave a small wave in response. That's her over there. Her name's Tsunade. She just helped heal Sasuke, and now we're off to see Kakashi. Sensei. The latest Hokage? That is incredible. Did you say Tsunade? Wait. Like in the Sanin Tsunade. I was once told about her by Kuranai. Sensei. She is regarded as one of the most powerful kunoichi in history. She said, it's an honor to meet you, Lady Tsunade, or should I say Lady Hokage? As Naruto nodded and turned to face Tsunade. She bowed as Tsunade waved her hand, saying, my sensei has told me much about you. It's alright, I don't really care that much. A Hyuga, really? I had split up the Hyuga clan once so that some of their members could enlist in the medical corps. When it comes to medical ninjutsu and surgeries, the Byakugan would be an invaluable tool. Of course, though, the main branch family elders rejected me. Hinata nodded as she continued, said such arts were beneath them, bunch prudes if you ask me. Yes, I do recall hearing about that from my father. Tsunade shrugged and she said, I apologize for my clan elders. They're extremely traditional. She said, it's fine if you want to, I can teach you some medical ninjutsu, as Hinata's eyes began to glitter a little. Oh my goodness, that would be an honor. Sensei and my father will have to be consulted first, Hinata said, and Naruto smiled. Yes, she truly is amazing. She made me this salve that completely healed my cuts. She would make a fantastic medical ninja. With a big red blush on her face, Hinata smiled and said, but I have to warn you, Hinata. You should expect to be dragged to casinos whenever she gets the chance if you train with her. She also uses profanity and drinks sake like a drunken sailor. Hinata gave him a gentle glare as he spoke, and don't let the looks fool you, she's older than she looks. She's really an old lady. That's not how you treat the Hokage, Nagato. Kun. As Naruto raised his hands in submission, she chastised him. I apologize. I apologize. You would think that after your previous reprimand, I would have learned my lesson? Just wanted to let you know. She's been a pain to deal with for the past few days, and I don't want you to adopt her negative behaviors. Naruto. Kun, Hinata emphasized, as Naruto apologized and carried on talking without acknowledging the energy surrounding them. Tsunade watched the two, then turned to face Jiraiya. She gave them a thumbs up, sensing that they were unconsciously giving off a very lovey Deve kind of energy. Jiraiya nodded, then made hand gestures that told her the whole story. Girl is really crushing on him. Does he know? I can tell. It's practically written all over her face. Nope. He doesn't even realize it. He does inherit his mother's traits after all. It makes sense, ah. Tsunade watched the two, grinning softly, and for a moment, she saw herself and Dan in that situation long ago. It was obvious to her even in the brief moments she spent with Hinata that she had a major crush on the boy. Her earlier interactions with Naruto and Sakura had left her a little concerned that Naruto would follow in Jiraiya's footsteps, leading a life of perversion and one-night stands and never really filling the void in his heart. However, seeing how he smiled more sincerely with her, and the way they appeared to make each other happy, gave her hope. Even though Hinata was blushing profusely, Naruto was also blushing, but he was glaring at Tsunade. Okay, as adorable as this is, she interrupted. We need to see the other patients, or do you not want your sensei to wake up? She asked, and Naruto shook his head. So let's get going. Hinata, it was a pleasure meeting you. She said, come along, brat, and Naruto followed after teasing her with his tongue. Hey Hinata, how about we grab some ramen later and catch up? My treat, he said, causing her to blush but nod rapidly. Absolutely, she responded, and Naruto grinned before turning to face the others who were grinning at him. What? Nothing, they muttered in unison as Naruto raised an eyebrow but dismissed it, saying that adults were strange. 2 days later, the council room of Shinobi. The Shinobi Council, the Anbu leaders, the clan leaders, Ibiki and Anko, the 3 elders of Homura, Kaharu and Danzo, the former 3rd Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi, the acting 5th Hokage Tsunade, and the Shinobi Council met 2 days after the 5th Hokage was crowned to discuss the promotion procedure. I believe everyone agrees that Shikamaru Nara satisfies the requirements to be promoted to Chunin? He demonstrated a sharp mind and understands the importance of determining when a fight can be won or lost, Homura proposed. However, unless forced to, he tends to procrastinate and lack motivation. Something he ought to work on, Ibiki countered, having observed his demeanor throughout the tests. Anko, who was an examiner, also said, if he does get promoted, he will need to start showing more effort. Tsunade nodded in agreement as she reviewed Shikamaru's exam results. He's definitely a genius. That will make a fine Chunin, she said. We will also require an equal number of cerebral and muscular fighters, considering our current manpower situation. Giving him responsibility might compel him to alter his perspective. As everyone nodded, she said, I second his promotion. Well, assuming everyone agrees. As she and the others prepared to stand, Kaharu began, we are going to adjourn this meeting. Hold it, Sarutobi said, cutting the conversation short. I think we're overlooking another participant who is now eligible for promotion. He proposed, Naruto Uzumaki, sparking arguments among the council members right away. Certainly not. That young man isn't prepared for that level of accountability. As her fellow advisor nodded, Kaharu argued. As Kaharu nodded, Hamaru countered, his prior performance indicates he lacks the skills to conduct proper surveillance to be effective on missions. Yet, we're willing to elevate someone who was contemplating giving up the fight. The two advisors gave Sarutobi a glare as he argued. Looking around the room, Shikaku said, look, I don't want to be harsh on my son, but Shikamaru lacks motivation when it comes to being a shinobi. Despite having an acute mind, he is not a confrontationalist. Heck, and I'm not making that up, his first words were, what a drag. My point is that sometimes giving up is the only course of action in a real fight. There are moments when you need someone who will fight to the very end, even if it means losing their life. Compared to my son, Naruto Uzumaki has more drive in his little toe than he does in his entire body. It's unfair to promote someone who lacks motivation over someone who is bursting with it until my son's attitude changes. Hamaru contended that Naruto Uzumaki's level of maturity is more important than his motivation to be a chunin. In his youth, he has constantly caused trouble for the Shinobi Corps and the citizens of the Leaf, playing many practical jokes and openly displaying disrespect for his superiors or other shinobi. He even did the Hokage monuments painting. So, are you blaming the child? It makes sense that he acted out like any other child, given that he had no one to raise him. Anko countered, understanding Naruto's early years, plus he's got spirit, I think that's a major requirement for a Chunin. Sume Inuzuka, Kiba's mother of the Inuzuka clan, nodded and crossed her arms. To be honest, it's quite an accomplishment that he painted the Hokage monument during the day. Not until it was painted did all of the shinobi in the village notice. Hell, I was blind to it. In addition, I've heard that he's improved since the second exam half. Sume smiled a little and said, at least my son has said that, and he's not one to give praise lightly. His dedication to ensuring the safety of civilians during the invasion has also been reported on numerous occasions. Head of the Akamichi clan Shuza nodded in agreement as Inochi Yamanaka pointed out that Shuza was using his clones to help protect the people at the stadium caught in the genjutsu trap. It is certain that he is dedicated to the village. Knowing Naruto's exploits, Anko and Ibiki agreed that it would be a waste not to promote him. Still, he is not qualified for a promotion. It would be catastrophic for the Shinobi Corps if he were to be promoted to the rank of Chunin. Kaharu stated, his disrespect for authority is dangerous, and a sound strategy is essential to the success of any mission, both domestic and foreign. I disagree, Captain Zoe of the Anbu said. My men were made to watch Lord Third get trapped behind the 4-violet flame barrier during the invasion. A jutsu that is difficult to break. There was nothing we could do to help Lord Third against Orochimaru. We were unable to help until Uzumaki Naruto identified a problem with the jutsu's placement, which neither my men nor I had thought of. As the other Anbu nodded, he said matter of factly, there is a high chance Lord Third would not have survived that day if it weren't for his unconventional thinking. That is unimportant. Tsunade shook her head and Homura countered, just because he saved the Hokage, does not mean he should be promoted because Sarutobi feels as if he owes the boy a debt of gratitude. Tsunade, tying her fingers together, interrupted, let's cut to the real reason you don't want him to be promoted. You're afraid of what would happen if Naruto was sent on a higher risk mission and was captured by enemy shinobi or worse, what could happen if pushed too far. You don't want the possibility of losing control of the Nine. Tails, she said, causing everyone to fall silent. Koharu countered, that is not the point of this. Is it not? Honestly, ever since the fourth Hokage sealed that beast inside of Naruto, the Nine Tails have been a major source of satisfaction for him. The reason he was never adopted as a child was due to this. According to Shikaku, this is the reason why the majority of the village's adults give him the cold shoulder and treat him like a walking pariah. Your points would have been valid before the exams, but his recent accomplishments and new signs of maturity have made them invalid, Shikaku said. You only won't promote him now because you believe that by keeping him in the village, he will be protected from those who would seek to wield the Nine Tails' power. In the village, the Nine Tails' Jinchuriki is more secure. Hamaru said, we can keep him under control and out of enemy hands, to which Shikaku gave a mocking laugh. That is untrue. It was only recently that two enemy shinobi were able to get past our defenses and stand in the center of Konoha, searching for Naruto. Of course, we were still getting over the invasion. However, they were able to hold off, defeat our best fighters, and get away from the ambush squads that were sent to pursue them. The ease with which they entered indicates that the village is not safe even inside. No matter where he is or if he is at the rank of Chunin or Genin, Naruto Uzumaki will be targeted. The boy must get ready, said Shikaku. And you think that bestowing upon him the rank of Chunin will inherently bestow upon him protection? Koharu said in a rhetorical manner. No, but that doesn't imply we shouldn't give him the opportunity to advance. He is still a member of the Leaf Village's Shinobi Corp. Even though he is a Jinchuriki. Tsunade remarked, shaking her head at the memory of Naruto's near death experience. I think he's ready to be promoted, adding, he proved himself during the exams, the invasion and my retrieval when he faced the Sound's spy Kabuto and won. This is absurd. We can't risk promoting the Nine Tails' Jinchuriki. Think of how the rest of the shinobi would react if we promoted him. They would revolt and throw up their arms in disgust. A member of a small clan argued. The Nine Tails and Naruto Uzumaki are two separate entities. This idea that they are the same needs to stop. It's not only factually incorrect, but it's not what the fourth Hokage wanted. If it wasn't for him, the Nine Tails would have destroyed this village long ago. Sarutobi argued as he examined the surroundings. Besides, everyone saw him take on the one-tailed Tanuki from Tsunade. He proved that he is willing to stand in defense of Konoha, even when he has been ostracized and isolated for his whole life. It shows how even when he is hated, he will still stand to defend his home. I also recently learned that when confronted with certain truths, he has a level of maturity I didn't think possible of him. This proves that if we give him the rank of Chunin, he will rise to the occasion and prove himself a great value to the Leaf. So I believe we should give him that chance. He glanced around the room as the others nodded in agreement. Some of the smaller clans were more circumspect than the elders. Danzo turned to face the group and said, I agree with Sarutobi, abruptly. I believe we should allow Naruto Uzumaki to be promoted to the rank of Chunin. Koharu exclaimed, Danzo. What is the meaning of this? As she and Homura were astounded by the man. He asked as Sarutobi and Tsunade drew closer. The boy has shown a lot of new potential and maturity that we can no longer deny. Didn't he recently learn the truth of his heritage? With the exception of those who had served with Minato or the advisors who were aware of his true ancestry, several of the lesser clan leaders were perplexed. I have for years stated that Naruto Uzumaki should be given additional training to harness the potential that dwells within him. But I was denied because he was to be treated like a child. Shikaku said, better than being turned into one of your rude lackeys, but Danzo disregarded him. My point is, it's foolish to deny him the chance to reach his potential because of petty grudges. Now I'm more than willing to offer him the training needed, but I suspect I will be met with hostility? He said as Tsunade and Sarutobi stared, as I figured as mucha but regardless, I second the notion to promote Uzumaki Naruto to the rank of Chunin. You've all made valid points, but regardless, he's still reckless and has much to improve upon. We cannot approve of this promotion unless we have some type of guarantee that he will not compromise active missions once given the rank, Koharu said with a nod. Commander Zo turned to face the Anbu captain and said, if I may make a suggestion, we all agree that Naruto Uzumaki has changed, showing great improvement and was vital in the sound invasion. And while his ability to conduct strategy has improved, it still needs work. Shikamaru Nara has great strategic abilities but lacks the motivation and physical strength to achieve success on missions. My recommendation is that we promote both of them and have them serve on missions together, he suggested as the advisors raised their eyebrows. We're short on manpower as it is, why would we pair these together constantly when they would do better on separate missions? Not that we're considering Uzumaki as a Chunin just yet, Hamaru said while Zo nodded. Uzumaki Naruto will learn more tactical skills from Shikamaru, and Shikamaru could be inspired by his motivation and maybe improve his physical strength, Zo said as they discussed this. Kaharu questioned as Zo nodded, it would make sense. But what guarantee do we have that this will be effective? None. This is why I also suggest Naruto Uzumaki receive additional training with the Anbu. He won't become an official Anbu member, he's still not ready for that. But perhaps by going through the Anbu training regiment, he will learn to be more respectful to his superiors and more inclined to follow orders. I believe he is the type to learn from practical experience rather than theoretical, he said while the two were grinning. As Kaharu nodded, Homura said, your suggestions have merit. Very well, we approve of those conditions. Seconded, Tsunade nodded, and Kaharu concurred. Very well, Naruto Uzumaki will be promoted to the rank of Chunin. Naruto Uzumaki and Shikamaru Nara will be assigned missions together to gain valuable experience from each other. He will also undergo Anbu training to improve his disciplinary skills. If there is nothing else to discuss, then this meeting is hereby adjourned, Tsunade stated when they were all bowing and ejected. But instead of letting the man go, Sarutobi wheeled over to Danzo. He asked, what game are you playing, Danzo? While the man in bandages was staring. No game, I merely wish to see the potential of Naruto Uzumaki flourish. You stagnated him long enough by allowing him to live as a human. When we both know he would be more valuable as a weapon, he said while glaring at Sarutobi. That is not why the 9 Tails has been in the village and you know it. Hashirama. Sensei never allowed his wife to become a weapon. We have a responsibility to keep the 9 Tails from wreaking havoc across the world. Meddling with that power in any way could prove disastrous. And you and I both know you don't truly care about Naruto's potential. You just want the means to control the 9 Tails. I take precautions, Sarutobi. To ensure the continued existence, safety and strength of Konoha. Tobirama. Sensei would have agreed with me. Tobirama. Sensei also honored his brother's wish that Mito-san would not be used as a weapon. Do not twist his words and ideals to suit your own, Sarutobi said with a scowl. We never could see eye to eye, could we, Saru? It doesn't matter. The boy at least is still an asset to the continued security of the village, that is something we can agree to. At least now he can get the proper guidance he needs. Danzo sighed and looked up at the Konoha symbol. I may have failed Naruto in his youth, but I will not fail him now. As long as I have breath in my lungs, you will not turn him into a soulless weapon. Now shut down Root, or else. Sarutobi threatened. Do you remember when we were children, Saru? The days we spent running through the forests, dreaming of the day we would become shinobi? Times have changed, and we are not children anymore. Despite our differences, we both want to protect the great tree which is Konoha. You chose to protect it as the leaves that flourish above in the Tsunade. I chose to protect it like the roots in the darkest depths of the earth. Danzo said as he lavished a kiss on his shoulder. He told the wheelchair bound man, I will protect Konoha using everything at my disposal. And my time to be Hokage will come, as he passed by. Danzo paused at the door before waking up, and Sarutobi managed to get the final word in. Not unless Naruto beats you to it. As he left, the elderly man wondered what Danzo would do when he was gone. Ramen Ichiraku. Naruto Uzumaki and Hinata Hyuga are having dinner at Ichiraku Ramen after a demanding day. The genin teams had to be assigned to assist with the preparations for the village's major event, the coronation of the 5th Hokage. Following the coronation, Hidden Leaf's life resumed as usual. However, Naruto and Hinata started to hang out more during that period and would frequently meet at Ichiraku Ramen, exchanging tales and discussing the day's events. Naruto concluded his regaling of Hinata by narrating how he, Sasuke, and Sakura attempted to discover what was beneath Kakashi's mask prior to the Chunin exams. And then after all that, Kakashi Sensei pulls down his mask, only to reveal another mask. It was so lame. We wasted the whole day just so he could pull a dumb joke. Oh no, I bet that was annoying, Hinata remarked, snickering. Tell me about it. He even flipped a table full of really delicious looking food to keep his mask on. Looking back, I think Kakashi Sensei enjoyed messing with us. Course I still don't know who those other ninjas were. They kind of seemed lame, and I don't think they were real shinobi though. They were pretty weird, he said with a grin. Naruto sighed and she said, well, I'm sure one day you'll find out what he looks like. She nodded and he said, yeah, you're probably right. How's Kiba? Is his butt still sore from the poison ivy? A little, he complained the whole time and his mother kept laughing at him. But the salve I gave should be effective, she said with a nod. I still got that salve you made, it's really good. Have you thought about training under Tsunade? Well, I've thought about it. But I'm hesitant to ask my father, she said, and Naruto arched an eyebrow. Even though he entrusted my education to Kurenai Sensei, I'm scared that he'll see me learning medical ninjutsu as a waste of time. The elders are adamant that the Hyuga do not need to participate in other divisions of the shinobi arts. We made ourselves famous for our taijutsu arts, sensory skills and our prowess with the Byakugan. They find the medical field beneath them, she said while Naruto was grumbling. He shook his head and said, no offense, but your elders sound like a bunch of dumbasses. Hinata shook her head. Our Byakugan is what made us valuable to the Leaf. It's a source of pride for the clan. I know they seem strict, but they are just trying to protect the secrets of the Hyuga clan, she countered, although she still thought their justification was ridiculous. Yeah, but, if what old I mean Tsunade said is true, then having someone that can see through solid objects would be really useful. You guys would be amazing medics and save countless lives. It's stupid to focus on one aspect of being a shinobi. I've recently learned the benefits of branching out, why can't they? He asked with a sigh. She declared, complicated clan politics, stubbornness or pride. Take your pick, while chowing down on her noodles. Despite the way they are, I still want to protect the Hyuga clan and prove to them I can be a worthy heiress to the clan and a shinobi of the Hidden Leaf. But with father disinheriting me as heiress, that role will go to my sister Ayuro. She turned to face him, and he said, well, I reckon you can. His words made her blush and smile. You believe I can become Hokage, so I believe you can prove them wrong. One day everyone will see they were wrong about us, and we can hold our heads high knowing we were right, he said. She thanked Naruto-kun, saying, that means a lot. Naruto nodded. As Naruto shook his head, she questioned, so, how's Sasuke? Is he able to return to active duty? Naruto stammered a little and said, not yet, apparently they want to keep him under observation for a while longer. To make sure he hasn't suffered any long-term psycho. Psychol. She asked, psychological damage? And Naruto nodded. Yeah, that. So they're keeping an eye on him just in case. Kakashi Sensei was released yesterday, but he's not fully back to 100% yet. Until then, Sakura and I are stuck doing small missions around the village. Other than that it's just training and working on seals, he said before returning to his noodles. Seals? He grinned brightly and enthusiastically and said, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. I'm starting to learn Fuinjutsu. It's complicated and hard to understand. But I think I could be really interested in it. Naruto paused to glance down at his armor piece and the symbol of his ancestors, then asked, what made you want to start learning Fuinjutsu? He said, let's just say it's something I want to aspire to Hinata, who nodded despite being perplexed. She sensed that Naruto would provide an explanation when he was ready, regardless of the reason. He took a slurp of his noodles and exclaimed, now, let's get back to the meals. I am starving. He halted when he noticed Iruka standing behind him and said, Naruto? He shook his head and said, oh, hey Iruka. Sensei, what's up? Want some ramen? Iruka told him, maybe later. You're ordered to report to the Ninja Administration Building immediately, and Naruto arched an eyebrow. Do I have another mission? Iruka questioned as Naruto shook his head. I can't say. You've merely been ordered to report to the administration building. You haven't done anything mischievous lately, have you? Seeing Hinata's scowl, Naruto corrected himself. Nope, I've been on my best behavior. Well, better get going before old I mean the Hokage starts getting annoyed while downing his last gulp of ramen. She nodded and he said, sorry about this Hinata, rain check. She said, of course, and he nodded. He stood up and walked toward the administration building, saying, thanks, you're the best. See ya, Iruka. Sensei. Iruka turned to face his former pupil and then Hinata, giving her a knowing smirk as Hinata turned red and resumed eating. Adolescence, he thought to himself as he headed out to complete his class's grades. As he headed to the administration building, where shinobi leaders and the Hokage assigned missions to the shinobi squads, Naruto pondered, I wonder what kind of mission I've got. Given that he and Sakura were still down Kakashi, Sensei and Sasuke, he doubted that they would be given a proper mission. Thus, the mission was most likely going to receive a low D. Ranked rating. He muttered under his breath, unless this is another attempt to get me to gamble again. Before raising an eyebrow at the sight of a well-known pineapple-shaped hairstyle. Shikamaru? What are you doing here? He groaned in frustration as Naruto arched a brow, something annoying, no doubt. I was enjoying a nice relaxing nap in the sun when my dad told me I had to report to the administration building. What a drag. Dude, you've got to get a better hobby. Naruto nodded, and they went into the room. Whatever it is, we might as well just get it over with, Shikamaru suggested. The Anbu commander Zo, the 3rd and 5th Hokages, Genma, Ibiki, and Anko were in front of them. With a yawn, Shikamaru said, Naruto Uzumaki and Shikamaru Nara, reporting for duty, and Naruto nodded. Tsunade looked at Shikamaru and Naruto and said, hello, let's get down to business. It's regarding the results of the Chunin exams. Now given all that had happened during the invasion and with the exams suspended, initially it was suggested that no one would be promoted this time around. However, both of you performed admirably both during the exams and during the invasion. Your exploits did not go unnoticed, Sarutobi said in a note to Tsunade. It has been agreed upon that you two would be recommended to be promoted to Chunin. The examiners, myself and those of your fellow shinobi have taken into account your skills, strategy, accomplishments and commitment to the Hidden Leaf, Tsunade said while staring at the two of them. Tsunade formally declared as Naruto and Shikamaru's eyes widened, thus we have decided that as of this moment, Shikamaru Nara and Naruto Uzumaki will immediately be promoted to the rank of Chunin. Sarutobi congratulated the two of you while Anbu members and some examiners gave them applause. Shikamaru slapped his forehead and groaned, ah, man. I got promoted. Seriously. What a drag. Shikamaru paused when he saw that Naruto was not bouncing off the walls as he had assumed. This means I have to do a whole lot more work. No wonder the old man was smirking at me when I left. This is a real pain in the ash tea. He was eerily silent. He asked, hey, you okay, Naruto? As Naruto cast a sidelong glance downward. You know you just got promoted, right? Shouldn't you be? I don't know, a euro jumping for joy and declaring you're one step closer to becoming Hokage? It feels off, Naruto uttered, drawing raised eyebrows from everyone in the room. What do you mean? It doesn't feel right. I feel like I don't deserve this promotion, he said, looking at Tsunade with narrowed eyes and Shikamaru looking puzzled. What are you talking about, man? You won against Neji, you fought against Gaara and saved the 3rd Hokage's life. If anything, you were a slam dunk for a promotion. Heck, I thought you'd be smugly saying you beat Sasuke at getting promoted before him? He asked with a sigh. He told him, but I feel like I don't deserve it, to Shikamaru's raised eyebrow. I've been going over everything I did before the exams and I keep thinking at Euro I'm not ready. During the wave mission, I was arrogant and stubborn and nearly got my teammate killed. During the first part of the exams I didn't write anything on the test paper and lucked my way through it. Ibiki laughed as he remembered that moment. And during the Forest of Death, I got knocked out while I left Sakura to survive on her own. I could have died then and there and I acted like a stupid kid. It was only during the month of training that I felt like I was getting better at Euro, but now that I've been told I've been promoted to Euro, it doesn't feel right at Euro, it feels like I don't deserve it at Euro, he said as he raised his head and looked at him. We had considered all of this before suggesting your name for promotion. And arguably some believed you were not ready to be promoted, Sarutobi said, looking up to the elderly man. Naruto. The man said, hanging his head. He continued. But the truth is, no one ever truly is, as Naruto raised his head. Do you believe I was ready to become Hokage of the Hidden Leaf? No, I was no more than a Jonin when Lord Tobirama entrusted the title to me. But the thing about being promoted is that it's not an entitlement, but rather a challenge to overcome, he said while staring at Naruto. Tsunade continued, staring at her. Being promoted to Chunin comes with not only a raise in rank but a demand to take the responsibilities that come with it. You will be in charge of not only the mission but the lives of your comrades and the safety of the Leaf. There have been those before you who took their promotion with pride and arrogance, only to come to the daunting realization all too late, costing the success of the mission and the lives of their comrades. You, however, have seen that you still have room to improve. You've seen your mistakes and realized how you could have done things differently. This is a good sign that you are now cautious of your actions, aware of the consequences that can come from them, and are determined not to repeat them. We would not have chosen you lightly if not for this act. So do not be weighed down by doubt, fight through it and prove yourself worthy, Tsunade said to Naruto. You have grown remarkably in a short amount of time, Naruto. You are no longer the same child that ran around the village, painting monuments, pulling pranks and proclaiming you'll become Hokage out of a need for attention. You have seen the grand scale of the village and like those before you, have committed yourself to the protection of the Hidden Leaf. And with this promotion, you are one step closer to ensuring its continued existence, Sarutobi said. Naruto nodded in agreement. He eventually spoke, getting nods from everyone in the room. I see. Thank you, Lord 5th and Lord 3rd. I promise I won't let you down. Tsunade said, we know you won't. However, your particular promotion doesn't come without strings, to a raised eyebrow from Naruto and Shikamaru. We all agree that you have been deemed worthy of the rank of Chunin. But there are still facets of your abilities that need improvement. Naruto, you've improved with your strategic skills, but there is still much to be desired. Shikamaru, you have the best mind out of both of you. But you lack motivation and physical strength. This is why starting today, whenever there is a mission you two will serve together. This way you can both learn from each other and improve your lacking skills. Naruto with strategies and Shikamaru with his motivation and physical strength. She said as Shikamaru sighed and pushed down his face with a hand. But Naruto nodded, taking the news in stride. I understand, it makes sense when I think about it. Shikamaru's always been the smarter of us during the academy, but hard to motivate. Maybe teaming up with him for a while will help with stuff I still find hard to understand. And maybe he can learn to be a bit more active from me? Naruto nodded his head. After muttering, don't encourage them, Naruto, Shikamaru let out a sigh. What a drag. Tsunade added, that's not all that comes with this promotion, to which Naruto arched an eyebrow. The Anbu believe that you still have areas that need improvement, Naruto, and have offered to provide you with additional training. You will report to the Anbu headquarters every weekend and run through a crash course of their training regiment. You will be taught additional strategies, weapons styles, stealth techniques and martial arts to improve your arsenal. As Zo moved forward, he said, not that I am ungrateful, but why? He told the boy, officially it's to assure the Shinobi Council that you will gain the necessary disciplinary skills to be trusted with higher ranked missions, and then gave the boy a direct look. On the other hand, the Anbu forces owe you a debt of gratitude. Without your idea to bring down the barrier, we would not have been able to fulfill our duty to protect the Hokage and our honor would have been tarnished. So this is my way of saying thank you, and my support that one day you will achieve your dream as Hokage, Zo said, nodding and shaking the man's hand as Naruto just stared. I promise not to disappoint you, Naruto said, receiving a nod from Zo. He said, I know you won't, as they released their grip. She nodded to Genma and Aoba as they gave the two their new flak jackets, and Shikamaru sighed. Well, now that is over. Here are your official documents and your standard-issued Chunin vests, she said. It's official Thina Euro, this is the worst day of my life. Shikamaru raised an eyebrow at Naruto, who replied, oh it's not so bad, we made it to Chunin. Imagine how shocked everyone will be when they see we made it. Afterwards at Yakiniku Q. As Naruto and Shikamaru wore their new Chunin vests, Kiba, Team Kurenai, Team Asuma, Team Kakashi, apart from Sasuke, and Iruka sat at the Yakiniku-Q restaurant, exclaiming, "I don't believe this." Naruto had placed the Uzumaki clan symbol on his shoulder and sealed his Uzumaki chest piece into a scroll. Kiba slammed his head on the table, complaining, "I can't believe I didn't get promoted while you two got ahead of me. I'm never going to hear the end of this from Mum." Shino turned to the Aburame and glared at him. "Kiba, stop complaining. It's a little surprising that Naruto and Shikamaru got promoted. But given all they achieved in the exams, it's not that hard to comprehend." "Yeah, but I at least thought I beat Naruto to Chunin. Shikamaru, I'm fine with it. But Naruto. It's so unfair." Kiba yelled. Kurenai sat next to Asuma and said, "Well, maybe this will make you put more effort into your training. You were arrogant during the exams that you could beat Naruto and ended up losing to him." "Only because he farted in my face," Kurenai rolled her eyes and he muttered. Shoji remarked, "But unlike you, Naruto has been pushing himself every day, working on his strengths and improving his flaws. It's no surprise that he made it to Chunin," while Kiba continued to laugh and stuff his pork chops. Like Kiba, Ino was meanwhile examining the two, amused as well as irritated. Shikamaru scowled as Ino laughed and remarked, "Even so, I never would have thought I'd see Shikamaru being promoted. It's hard to believe that the laziest person I know would ever be given a rank of authority." He laid his head on his palm and moaned, "Laugh it up, Ino, this is such a drag. I swear this whole thing is a headache," he said, laughing at Ino before turning to Naruto. "And to top it all off, I have to be teamed up with Naruto for the next while so we can learn from each other. And then there's the fact that Naruto, who was the dead last at the academy, is outpacing all of us. It means I have slacked off since the academy," she said with a nod. He was met with embarrassed groans from Sakura and Ino. "I have told you to focus on your training. You don't commit to your efforts and you end up losing in the end. If you had, maybe you would have been promoted instead of being knocked out at the same time," he said. Asuma exclaimed, "But, today is a day to celebrate. To Naruto and Shikamaru's promotion." While the others gave nods in agreement. Shoji exclaimed, "Itadakimasu," as he snatched every piece of meat off the grill. Kiba yelled, "Hey! Don't eat all the meat," as the Akamichi gave him a fierce look and pushed the meat into his mouth. "You bastard." The two fought with one another. Sighing, Kurenai and Asuma watched as their students engaged in combat. Iruka, meanwhile, turned to face Naruto, who was seated with Sakura to his left and Hinata to his right. As Naruto thumbed the vest, he said, "You're being awfully quiet. I thought you'd be celebrating the loudest?" Iruka and Kakashi shook their heads as Naruto apologized. "Oh sorry Iruka. Sensei. I would be, it's just. Still feels unreal. I didn't expect to get promoted, least of all before Sasuke. Still doesn't seem right, he didn't get a chance." Iruka described his emotions that day, saying, "It's perfectly natural to feel that way. I remember feeling the same way when I got promoted, I was so nervous. But eventually it goes away, once you get used to it. Moreover, you merited that advancement, Naruto," Kakashi remarked as Naruto pivoted to face him. "You faced the challenges and came out on top. So take a little pride in your accomplishment and celebrate it with your friends." As for Sasuke, he didn't show up in time and was disqualified. "Shinobi cannot afford to be late on actual missions," Kakashi said with a scowl. With a small laugh, Kakashi laughed and she accused, "That's a little rich coming from you, sensei. Aren't you partly the reason Sasuke was late in the first place?" "Well, maybe a euro, but he did push himself too much during the last training session. Besides, given Sasuke's mental state, I think it's best that he wasn't promoted. To be honest with you too, I wasn't exactly planning on any of you to be promoted. I was hoping to use the exams as a means to teach valuable lessons about improving and knowing that not every battle can be won. But, as it turns out, I underestimated you, Naruto. Something I've done a lot recently and I want to say sorry. And congratulations on your promotion, I am honestly proud of you," he said with a nod. Naruto shifted in his seat to get a feel for the vest and said, "Thanks, Kakashi. Sensei, and it's okay. Like I said, I'm not one to hold grudges. It's just going to take a bit to get used to." Well, it's definitely something I'm going to have to get used to, Sakura replied. Not to say I'm against your promotion. But it's going to be odd knowing I have to take orders from you, she said with a sigh. As she sipped her drink, she stated, I need to train more. Hinata grinned at the boy, who blushed a little and grinned back. Well, I for one am proud of you, Naruto. Kun. I knew you could do it, and congratulations on your promotion. You look cool. The two grinned at one another, and he said, Thanks, Hinata, that means a lot. The two were surrounded by a sickly sweet field that was so romantic that it made the single people gag. The others just stared. Kiba complained, Oh my goodness, this place is getting too sweet. I think I'm going to get a toothache. Ino gave him a shoulder slap while Choji and Shikamaru nodded. She sighed with bliss and hissed, I think it's cute, picturing herself and Sasuke instead of Naruto and Hinata. Iruka grinned and observed Naruto, who seemed relieved to be making so many new friends. And he couldn't be happier because it was clear from their interactions that a lovely relationship was developing between them. Under the table, out of sight from prying eyes, Asuma and Kurenai silently intertwined their fingers, grinning at the couple. Not that it got past Kakashi, who gave them a blush and a sidelong glance as he grinned at them. Then, with a nostalgic smile, he turned his head and thought of Minato and Kushina, then Obito and Rin. Sakura, however, was observing the scene with discord. Naturally, she was rooting for Hinata because, unlike with Sasuke, she was receiving more attention from her crush. She was still a little jealous of Naruto's increased attention to her, though. However, it's not as though she shared Hinata's affection for Naruto, no respect. He was a friend she liked. A fellow combatant. Even so, perhaps she ought to show him a little more respect than she had previously. Naruto shrugged and Ino asked, So, Naruto. How's it feel knowing you have to be stuck working alongside Shikamaru? The genin halted what they were doing and fixed him with a blank stare. It won't be that hard. Honestly, I think the hardest part will be the Anbu training I have to do, he remarked. What? Oh, right. I forgot to mention that. The Anbu captain during the invasion wants me to take on a crash course of the Anbu training regiment. Sort of a thank you for helping them save the third, but also so I can improve my disciplinary skills or whatever, he said as he removed the meat and consumed it. Unaware of the looks he was receiving from the others. Up until Kiba at last found the right words to say. Oh, you son of a... Day after, Anbu head office. Just as the first day of his training regimen was about to start, Naruto stood outside the Anbu headquarters. Situated behind a vast forest, the Anbu headquarters was situated atop the Hokage monument. Back when he was younger, the third Hokage had told him to avoid the big dome-shaped buildings. Primarily because the area was wired with traps to discourage intruders and required guidance from an envoy or knowledge of the layout to pass through. Fortunately, the Anbu positioned around the edge guided Naruto through as he entered. He peered at the massive dome-like structure and said, Whoa. So this is the Anbu headquarters? He remarked, neat, as the Anbu member gestured. The Anbu member nodded as Naruto entered. Head inside, Captain Zou is waiting, the member said. Inside, he saw Captain Zou in his cat mask, and next to him, a woman with long purple hair, the traditional Anbu uniform, and a mask resembling a cat stood. Naruto Uzumaki reporting for duty, was all Naruto could say, not knowing quite how to respond. Was he meant to give a salute? The other Anbu and Zou exchanged a look, then turned their attention back to Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto, welcome to the Anbu. As per instructions by the Godem Hokage and the former Sandyami Hokage, you will receive additional training from the Anbu Black Ops. This does not make you a member of the Anbu. Your rank of Chunin holds no weight here, and you are not to divulge any sensitive information outside this dome. Is that understood? He asked with a nod. Your training will consist of kenjutsu, martial arts, the study of human anatomy, stealth and recon, code breaking and potentially assassination. This member is codenamed Neko, and she will be your kenjutsu instructor during your time here. I expect you to obey her every command as if it was from the Hokage herself, is that understood? Naruto gave a nod. As they arrived at a requisitions office, the Anbu member behind the desk handed him a box containing the standard Anbu uniform, sword, and mask. Good, come this way. You're going to be here, you need to wear the appropriate training attire, Neko said. Naturally, a fox mask was given to Naruto. Gazing up at the man, he thought, figures. Neko said, let's clarify one thing here, turning to see that she had her arms crossed. That mask does not make you a member of the Anbu. You are not joining the Anbu, you are not here to become one of us, you are here to train because we owe you a debt of gratitude. You will not participate in any of our missions, nor divulge any secrets you learn here. We don't care for what you are, who you are or what you have inside you. Only that you do as we tell you and learn. Once this training is done, you might one day join us. But until then, you obey my orders, are we clear? Naruto looked at the mask in his hand and then nodded. Good, let's see if you have what it takes to make it through this training. Naruto put on the fox mask, and Yugo raised an eyebrow. Something you should know about me, he said. I never give up. Omake. Uzumaki's good fortune. As the others carried on enjoying the celebration, Kiba continued to bemoan all that Naruto had achieved. Recalling his own experience in the Anbu, Kakashi greeted his student, saying, I have to congratulate you on receiving Anbu training, Naruto. But I have to warn you it's not for the faint of hearts. Anbu training is intense, unforgiving and demanding. I hope you're up to the challenge? Thanks for the advice, Kakashi. Sensei. But you know me, I'm not one to give up. Plus I'm not officially joining the Anbu. I'm just learning a few things from them. Help make up for what I lacked back at the academy and learn to be a bit more respectful to my superiors, Naruto said as Kakashi nodded. Naruto smiled and nodded. I understand, but feel free to ask me anything. I am here for you, he said. I will, Kakashi. Sensei. Well, Kakashi, you have one heck of a student. Promoted to Chunin and about to receive Anbu training, he is full of surprises. Asuma said while Kakashi nodded. He laughed a little, but secretly questioned whether it was really possible. That he is, just when you think you have him figured out, he surprises you once again. At this rate he might even make it to Hokage before he's 20? He said. Asuma poured himself another drink and said, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. He only just made it to Chunin. He's still got a long way to go. Heck, I was still surprised he mastered wind chakra so quickly. Asuma winced and Shikamaru pointed out, hey, that reminds me. Asuma. Sensei, didn't you have a bet that if Naruto made it to Chunin you'd pay for his victory dinner? Kurenai glared at Asuma, who was now perspiring, asking, seriously. In front of his girlfriend, he nervously explained, W. Well, to be fair, I didn't think he'd pass this time around. A. And besides, the bet was also if Shikamaru won, Naruto would pay. Sweetheart? On that front, I wasn't sure yet. Shikamaru shook his head and said, typical Asuma. Sensei, always trying to weasel out of a losing bet. Yes, as expected from a typical sensei, Shoji nodded. Asuma felt his pride being bruised by those remarks, so shameful, chuckled Ino, Shikamaru, and Shoji. Kurenai growled, I think he should just pay for it all and teach him a lesson not to gamble on stupid bets, and the others nodded, giving Asuma the impression that his wallet was about to take a serious hit. Naruto abruptly said, it's okay, as everyone turned to face him. Everyone grinned at Naruto's mature response, given everything we've been through, I'm just happy everyone made it out in one piece. Besides, I don't care about the bet. I valued Asuma Sensei's guidance with wind chakra and I'm grateful it helped me when I needed it the most. Asuma experienced some satisfaction and relief that his wallet would not run out this week. Naruto said, besides, I'll pick up the tab. It's the least I can do, as he opened one of the briefcases to show off the large sums of money he had won. They looked at the money with their heads bowed. Sakura questioned incredulously. Naruto. Where did you get this? Naruto shrugged. As everyone stared at him as if he had grown a second head, he said, well, during the mission to find Tsunade, it turns out I'm kind of super lucky at gambling. This is just one of the cases I won, I've got like 2 others that have a bit more than this. Honestly, I don't care for it. You gambled? Ino inquired, and Naruto nodded. Naruto put up his hands in defense as Iruka went all-parent mode on him, saying, Naruto. What the heck were you thinking? You can't be gambling, you're still a minor. As Iruka glared, Naruto attempted to defend himself, saying, "It's not my fault. Honest, Iruka-sensei. It just kind of happened while I was off with Pervy Sage, Jiraiya, and the next thing I know, bam. I've won a lot of money." He intended to have a serious conversation about letting Naruto gamble with Jiraiya. Naruto nodded, and Shino said, "It still seems highly unethical and somewhat illegal that they let a minor gamble." He said, "Yeah, but these guys I played said they would tell me where Tsunade was if I played their games, and I was trying to help them find her. Not my fault they all lost, taking a stack of coins to pay the bill. This should cover it." Naruto knitted his brows and Kakashi said, "Naruto, not to call you a liar, but I highly doubt you won all that." "But I did. Seriously, every gambling den I went to I won. Poker, pachinko, dice, those weird slot machines that just kept spilling out coins every time I pulled the levers. Not to mention any time a gambler sees me now they scream, 'The Golden Fox of Luck,' and then shut down the place out of fear. It's honestly getting a little creepy," he admitted as they all looked at him skeptically every one. Kiba exclaimed, "Prove it." As Naruto furrowed his brow and shrugged. Before Iruka could stop him, he got up and went to the gambling den next door. He walked in and made straight for the slot machines, and everyone followed. The bouncer attempted to stop him, but Naruto inserted a coin, pulled the lever, and the number 7 flashed across the board. He turned back to the others, telling them so, and they stared at the coins as coins began to spill out. He then pulled a few more levers, and as they all began to spew out coins, he proved his point. "See what I mean?" he asked, causing the owner's eyes to widen with recognition and fear. The owner kicked Naruto, threw a fresh case full of cash, and then quickly shut the doors, saying, "Oh, crap. The Golden Fox of Luck. Take this and get out of here." Naruto asked, "See?" As everyone gaped. As they all turned to see Tsunade, who was peeking over the edge of the roof, he said, "The worst thing is I have to deal with her." He pointed up to the roof. An air of jealousy emanated from her hands as they cracked the ledge. As Naruto sighed, she muttered jealously, "Give me your luck." Kiba fell to the ground and began beating on the ground, cursing his luck. "Seriously, it's all too weird, I don't even like gambling," he said. Iruka was starting to get a migraine because he wanted to talk to Tsunade and Jiraiya in depth about allowing Naruto to gamble. Asuma let go of his cigarette, and Kurenai gazed at the boy with big eyes who had just won more money than they would have in a month. Asuma said, "Son of a." Feeling jealous of Naruto's extraordinary good fortune as well as grateful he didn't have to pay the bill. Kurenai questioned, That's impossible. How can someone have that much luck?" As Kakashi remembered something his sensei had once told him a very long time ago. Though, at the time, he was unsure of the reason, never bet against an Uzumaki. Flashback. Minato and Kushina's home, 16 years ago. Just a few days had passed since their covert nuptials, and the couple was taking some well-deserved time to themselves. Since they were still newlyweds, Kushina suggested they play a friendly game of strip poker. Even though Minato wasn't big on gambling, he couldn't resist his wife, especially when it came to her innocent smile as he nodded. Kushina was left completely clothed, enjoying the spectacle of her husband stripping her down to just his pants in the end. He timidly asked, "Honey, don't you think this is a bit unfair?" While she shook her head. Minato sighed and began unbuckling his belt as Kushina relished every second. "All's fair in love and war, my love. Oh, look at that, a full house €1 now strip," she exclaimed with a massively attractive but perverted grin. She was blushing profusely and grinning as he was. If she had lived and been Tsunade's apprentice in a previous life, her name would have been the Crimson Goddess of Fortune. This is a lesson in never betting against an Uzumaki. The practice blade clash between Naruto and Neiko reverberated throughout the spacious room, creating a sound of metal hitting metal. Wearing his fox mask and Anbu training uniform, Naruto was worn out and ragged as he tried to counter and block the enemy's blade while holding his blade in a defensive stance. His training instructor Neiko, also referred to as Yuga Uzuki, is the adversary. Neiko yelled, "Block!" as Naruto deflected her blade. She yelled, "Thrust!" as Naruto thrust, but she deflected the blunt weapon away from her and missed. She swung a finger at Naruto's head and exclaimed, "Counter!" The boy deflected the blade off his own and went in for a gut swipe, only just managing to block and counter. She deflected his blade, but failed to hit him, instead hitting him in the back with her own blunted weapon, pulling him back while he gasped in agony. Naruto nodded and repeated the motions, but she yelled, "You're not reacting quick enough." Again. She yelled, "Block. Thrust. Counter." Repeatedly as Naruto made the same motions. Eventually, she sent him to the ground and knocked his blade out of his hand and into hers. Before both blades were aimed at his face, he attempted to stand up. She uttered, "Enough," and lowered her sword. Naruto nodded, but moaned, "You're still not reacting quickly enough. Do not give your opponent a chance to retaliate. Strike true and strike fast, do not waste unnecessary movements," she commanded. "You guys don't go easy, do you?" As Hayate flashed through her mind, she said, "At any moment we may lose our life. Or the lives of our comrades if we are not prepared. So no, even though you are a child, we do not go easy on anyone," she remarked, and Naruto got up to give him his blade. Naruto nodded and lifted his blade. "Now, let us continue. After this you will report to Zou for remedial lessons," she said. Approximately 2 weeks had passed since Naruto began his supplementary training with the Anbu. Compared to his time at the academy, the training regimen was far more rigorous and demanding. Every day, Anbu shinobi were expected to complete risky, almost suicide-inducing missions. Scouting enemy territory, killing important figures, and tracking down renegade shinobi who were noted as highly ranked in the bingo books were all part of their duties. On his first training day, he had to run through a difficult obstacle course while fully outfitted in Anbu gear. It was a physically demanding workout. Some Anbu operatives were concealed beside the trail, periodically hurling kunai and shurikens towards the young man. He had to duck or deflect the blows, not attack them directly because the whole point was to look like a shinobi running away. He had to restart in case the assailants managed to capture him. He was repeatedly taken prisoner and forced to acknowledge the distance between the Anbu and himself. He was expected to hide from the Anbu for as long as possible during the next round of training, which included more stealth-based exercises. He was also expected to observe and gather intelligence on his fellow Anbu instructors from around the base in order to teach reconnaissance. He was repeatedly detected, apprehended, and forced to restart, acknowledging that he needed to practice his stealth more. Following that, he went to Neko's Kenjutsu classes where she taught him the fundamentals of wielding a sword. When he was younger, Naruto thought swords were cool and had always wanted to learn how to wield one. But now he just considered it an additional weapon in his toolbox. Yugo was not forgiving. She would promptly point out errors, make him repeat lessons until he understood them, and force him to practice until he was unable to raise his arms anymore. She would ruthlessly defeat him, reminding him of the disparity in strength and skill just when he felt he had the upper hand. Even as a child, the Anbu did not believe in giving in to pleading. When Itachi joined, things were the same, and Naruto would experience the same things. Attending classes on human anatomy and biology constituted the day's last portion. Finding the weakest points on a person and how to use pressure points to render them unconscious, just like Haku did. To comprehend that the Anbu would perform autopsies on enemy shinobi in order to extract important information from their corpses, especially prodding their organs and internal organs. Naruto did, in fact, throw up for the first time, just like everyone else would. He nonetheless endured it and carried on with the lessons. He had never thought about a lot of the aspects of being a shinobi before. But if he was going to be Hokage of the Hidden Leaf someday, he was going to have to do better than them. "Enough!" she exclaimed, bringing the lesson to an end as Naruto was left gasping for air and struggling to stay upright. She gave him a canteen and said, "Here." She gave the order, "Drink, you need to keep your hydration up," and Naruto nodded before raising his mask to his head and taking a sip. She shook her head and he said, "Thanks. You're good at Kenjutsu. Are you a prodigy or something?" She hung her head as Naruto raised a brow from behind his mask. "I was skilled with a sword, but I trained, practiced, and learned to improve. But there was one who mastered the crescent moon dance earlier than I did. I considered him a great teacher. And so much more," she said. He sighed and said, "He must have been a great Guya Euro. Who was he?" Yugo sighed. Her words caused Naruto's brow to furrow as he struggled to remember the examiner, Hayate Gecko, before an image of a sickly looking man flashed into his consciousness. He was, you met him during the second half of the exams, she said. He asked, oh yeah, I remember him. What happened to him? He kind of dropped off after the second half, to which Yugo hung her head and balled her fist. She informed him he was killed during the month break, and he became more animated. We believe he learned about the Sound's invasion plan and tried to warn us. But the enemy silenced him before he could. He died thinking he failed the leaf. She said as Naruto raised his head. She held Hayate's blade in her hand and shook her head, saying, I'm sorry. I didn't know. She told him, a tear threatening to fall down her cheek. It's fine, he knew the risks that came with being a shinobi. His death wasn't in vain either. We repelled the invaders and saved the Hokage's life. He would have been proud to know that the leaf wasn't doomed with his death. But as she turned back to face the Uzumaki, she kept her feelings to herself. This is the reality of being a shinobi. The children have idolized the jutsu, the spectacle and the glamour of the shinobi lifestyle. But underneath that glory is death, misery and loss. We do not fight to make names for ourselves. We fight to maintain the order and security of the hidden leaf. Never get distracted by glory, or let personal agendas or pride cloud your judgment. Complete the mission and get your team home, understand me? She asked as Naruto replied. She nodded and he said, I understand. She nodded, holding Naruto's blade as she rushed forward and their blades collided. Good, let us resume your training. You still have Zo's lessons next, and I intend for you to have gotten the basics down, she said. The Nara clan house the next day. Naruto and Shikamaru were sitting on the Nara clan home's porch. Scrolls with mission debriefings and team rosters were arranged around them so they could get acquainted with the current rosters. He had missions with Shikamaru when he wasn't receiving Anbu training. He was paired with the latter for a certain amount of time so they could share knowledge. So far, the most of the missions have been either escort missions for dignitaries in the Land of Fire or border patrol missions. Shikamaru was usually given command of the missions in the absence of a Jonin because he was the more experienced and tactically sound of the two. Nonetheless, there were times when Naruto was given command in order to hone his tactical analysis and leadership abilities. He was a little more patient and less impatient with dignitaries because of the Anbu training. He naturally started gritting his teeth at the more conceited ones. But as Naruto and Shikamaru discovered the hard way, it came with the rank, along with reports. They would be required to write up and submit mission reports that detailed everything that occurred. Fortunately, Shikamaru was more adept at this than Naruto, who was on the verge of a nervous breakdown from all the paperwork they had to complete. He was making progress, albeit slowly. After that, the two would go to meetings with other Chunins and or Jonins to talk about the latest goings on or the debriefings from previous missions. Naturally, Naruto was given a few glares by the other shinobi due to his identity. Certain prejudices would be more difficult to eradicate. Surprisingly, though, some did come to accept him. Most of the people who had witnessed his bravery against Gaara and his readiness to defend the civilians during the Konoha Crush while they had been present during the exams. Knowing that the more he proved to the village, the fewer glares would be directed at him calmed Naruto down. While passing the time and honing Naruto's strategic abilities by playing a game of shogi, Shikamaru inquired, so, how's the Anbu training going? Naruto said, not easy, I can tell you that much, as he advanced a piece. Neko Sensei is one strict instructor. But she's cool and a strong kunoichi. I think I'm going to go well with her. With a nod, Shikamaru said, so that's why you're carrying around that practice sword? Pointing to the wooden sword next to them. He moved the shogi piece forward, but Shikamaru took it. Yeah. She wants me to keep practicing kenjutsu when I'm not training with her or when I have a day off. Like I said, she is one strict instructor. But honestly, I'm learning a lot from them, he said, moving the piece forward. He cursed and Shiamore grinned, saying, damn, thought I had you that time. He said, going to have to try harder than that, while rolling his eyes at Naruto. Naruto steadied the board and muttered, yeah, before advancing a piece. He gestured to the clones that were lounging about with brushes and scrolls and said, by the way, what are you clones doing? What are you learning this time? Oh, that. I'm learning Fuinjutsu. It's a lot harder than I expected, but I'm making progress. I reckon with the clones' help I should be able to use a simple binding jutsu to hold down a high level genin, maybe a low level chunin in a week. But any higher and they can break out of the seal, Naruto said with a brow raised. Huh, and what made you want to suddenly learn Fuinjutsu? Shikamaru was skeptical but sighed nonetheless. Oh, it's something I've been meaning to study for a while. Plus the Anbu use Fuinjutsu for capturing and sealing targets. I figure it might be something handy to know in the future? He said. He thought, whatever, it will be a drag either way, to which Naruto laughed. Shikamaru mentioned Rock Lee's wounds and Naruto inquired, so, have you heard anything about Lee yet? I heard Tsunade saw him, is she going to be able to heal him? From what I heard, the damage Gaara did was pretty bad. The operation would be extensive, painful and require intensive physical therapy. She's advised that he quit being a shinobi, Shikamaru said as he moved a component. Honestly, I think he should quit. The chance he has of ever returning to active duty is less than 50%, even with the Hokage's medical ninjutsu. It wouldn't be worth the pain, he said with a scowl. He added, he won't give up, to Shikamaru's raised eyebrow. Lee's like me, he doesn't know when to give up. He works hard, pushes himself and tries harder than anyone else. Even when everyone else will tell him to give up. So I know that he won't quit, he'll take the surgery if it even gives him a chance at recovering. Because guys like us don't know how, Naruto reasoned as Shikamaru stared at him a bit. He put his last piece in and said, yeah, I guess stubborn people have ways of beating the odds. He continued, and I win, as Naruto blinked before scratching at his head. Aw, man. And I thought I had you that time. Almost, but you're a long way off from beating me. Anyway, we've got a mission tomorrow so we might as well call it quits for today. Naruto smiled as he dispelled his clones and gathered his supplies. Fine, but I will beat you one of these days. This game is pretty fun. He said. With a groan, Shikamaru answered, see you tomorrow, Shikamaru. And don't forget, we've still got your physical training to work on. He yelled, hard pass. But Naruto ignored him and took off running. He is going to be the death of me one day. Ha ha ha. He exclaimed, turning to face his father as Shikaku giggled outside the doorway. He remarked, he's a handful isn't he? As Shikamaru let out a sigh. You have no idea Euro, why did they have to promote me? I didn't even want this, he said. He said, I just want a peaceful, stress-free life. Ideally one without a woman to nag me, to Shikaku's amusement. What? Karma has a way of biting back, son. You've most likely just jinxed yourself, he said, to his son's groan of frustration. He gestured to the board and said, so, how's his game going? Is he getting any better? Well, he keeps losing but that's no surprise. The only person I can't beat is you. But honestly at Euro he's making the game challenging. Whenever I face someone like Asuma Sensei or Choji, I can predict what moves they'll make and counter them effectively and efficiently at Euro, but Naruto, he's unpredictable. Just when I think he'll do one thing, he'll change it up and try something else. If I'm honest, he's almost beaten me a couple of times a Euro. It's kind of fun, he said with a smirk. He reflected on a previous time he had played the same game with Minato and said, yeah. That's no surprise. He was always fun to play against, but Minato could never win against him. He grinned subtly and said, I guess it runs in the family. In the future, the Uzumaki and Nara clans would play a significant role in the Hidden Leaf, helping to usher in a prosperous and peaceful era that would be remembered for years to come. Hey, Shikamaru. Was Naruto's sudden return. The mission has been postponed. Which means we can start your morning jog tomorrow. Damn it. If the lazy Nara is able to make it through it all? Village gates, 2 days later. At the gate, Kakashi, Naruto, Shikamaru, and Sakura gathered, ready to set out on a mission. The Hokage had called them in to help eliminate bandits that had been seen close to the border. Tsunade offered to take part in a joint mission to reaffirm the alliance between the Land of Wind and Fire and the bandits because they operated close to the border. As of right now, Suna had no Kazekage because no one in the village possessed the same strength as the fourth Kazekage. Thus, the Suna Council served as the village's temporary administration until they chose a new Kazekage. Naruto, a little perplexed as to why the Sand and Leaf had agreed to this, said, I still can't believe we have to work with the Sand Village, weren't we fighting them before? Tsunade had been deceived by Orochimaru into invading us. This alliance is essential right now, as both the Leaf and Sand have lost a significant amount of shinobi. The bandits are harassing both sides at the moment, so it's better if we work together to take them down. This way we assure both sides that we can work together without hostility, Kakashi clarified with Naruto nodding in agreement. Oh, I get it, because right now neither village doesn't have much manpower. It's better that two weakened villages team up instead of going at it by themselves, Naruto said with a nod. Shikamaru said, exactly, man, the Anbu must be drilling your head with all this stuff, to Naruto's amusement. You have no idea. We need this alliance in case the lands of Earth, Water or Lightning try to take advantage of our weakened state and attack either of us. We have a Hokage again, but that won't deter everyone forever. Some might get bold and attack either of us. So an alliance is the best solution for the two villages, Kakashi clarified as Naruto, Sakura, and Sakura questioned as Shikamaru nodded, but won't there be some bad blood between us? We lost many comrades on our side because of them. So did they in their cage because of Orochimaru's scheme. Right now no one is in a position to argue if we want to stand a chance of recovering our strength. This alliance is the best chance we have. The rendezvous should be up ahead. Sakura, since Naruto and Shikamaru are Chunin now they have a higher rank than you. This is a chance to test Naruto's leadership skills, so I expect you to obey their orders, even if they come from Naruto. Understand? Kakashi said with a nod. Sakura remarked, yes, sensei. It's still weird that I have to take orders from Naruto now, recalling how, just a few months prior, when they had been assigned a team, Naruto had played a stupid joke on Kakashi. It was difficult to imagine that Naruto from before and Naruto from now were the same person. Made her wonder if Naruto had this potential all along and nobody had recognized it. Let us move forward, the meeting point is just ahead, Kakashi gestured to the three, who nodded and trailed behind him. They soon came to a bridge that had been destroyed, where they waited for the sand forces. Naruto said, so, do we know who they're sending? While Shikamaru shrugged. Shikamaru shuddered at the thought of Temari. They didn't say. Could be any number of them. I just hope she isn't part of the team. That woman. Before Naruto could say, dude, she got under your skin didn't she? He heard some rustling and turned to see the sand shinobi arrive. His eyes did, however, enlarge upon seeing the person he had not anticipated. Naruto managed to utter, gee. Gaara. While gazing at the lone other Jinchuriki he had encountered. Sakura drew back in terror, recalling the monstrous form he had assumed, and Shikamaru reached for his kunai holster. To be honest, they had no idea how to feel. When they had last interacted, they were adversaries. When they parted ways, Naruto liked to think they had come to an understanding, but it didn't erase the nagging suspicion that he had returned to his murderous ways. I apologize for being late, Gaara said, while Sakura, Shikamaru, and Naruto displayed confused expressions. He replied, we had a little trouble with a sandstorm before we left, it delayed us slightly, to Kakashi's raised eyebrows. He's not the same guy as before. Not as ferocious as he'd been against Naruto. Could Naruto have brought about a change in him, as he appears to have become more mature? As he nodded, Kakashi pondered. He turned to Naruto, who was staring at him, and said, no, it's fine. We're a little early ourselves. You are the ones we've been assigned with? Gaara nodded in response to his question. Naruto Uzumaki, he uttered, sounding circumspect as Gaara bowed a little. He said, it's good to see you again, to Naruto's blinks. Oh, yes, similarly, where's your typical team? Don't you typically collaborate with your sibling and sister? He inquired, making Shikamaru wince at the thought of seeing that fan. User once more. He turned to face behind him and said, I have been enlisted under the regular forces for this mission, while two other sand shinobi wade through the water. He introduced Kurobi and Yaoki, the two sand shinobi, with a nervous wave. These are my subordinates, Yaoki and Kurobi. Yaoki and Kurobi nodded and waved slightly as Kakashi said, I'm Kakashi Hitaki, acting captain for this mission. You already know Naruto, and these are Shikamaru and Sakura, they will be assisting with the mission. Kurobi said, gee. Greeting. We really appreciate this. While Yaoki gave a tense nod. Gaara asked, please be patient with them, they are still rookies, and Shikamaru nodded in response. It's fine. I hope you don't mind, but Naruto and Shikamaru have been promoted to Chunin recently, so this will also be a test for us in handling a situation. They are bandits, but reports indicate some of them are Chunin. Level Rouge Shinobi. With you here we should be able to handle them, Kakashi responded. Gaara turned to face Naruto and said, I'm fine with that. He questioned, I guess congratulations are in order? As Naruto nodded and blinked. Gaara nodded and Naruto said, yeah, thanks. The group of 7 nodded and moved away from the river to talk about their plan among the trees. We should probably get a move on, we can't risk them catching on to us, Gaara suggested. As Naruto considered this, Kakashi said, okay, Naruto. How do you think we should go about this? He'd read the report on the bandit activity and where the camp was located on the mountain that bordered the area. Pointing to the mountain, Naruto remarked, I think we should split up. One team moves in from the west and the other from the east. They won't expect a two-pronged attack and it will cut off any chance for escape. They'll be caught off guard and then we can capture them without much effort, Naruto said as Kakashi nodded. As Shikamaru nodded, Kakashi questioned, smart thinking, what do you have to say, Shikamaru? As Kakashi and Naruto nodded, Shikamaru said, it sounds like a solid plan to me. We'll take the east side, while Gaara's team will attack from the west. Our best option is to wait until midnight when we'll have the advantage of darkness. Naruto, Kakashi, and Shikamaru raised an eyebrow but nodded as they descended to the lower level and Gaara revealed the truth to them. Kakashi, Naruto, Shikamaru. May I speak with you for a moment? There is something we need to discuss, Gaara said. Gaara nodded and Kakashi asked, someone is following you? Yes, I don't think it will interfere with the mission at Euro, but I thought I should let you know. There are higher-ups in my village that still hate me. Shikamaru said, given the way you were, I don't fully find that surprising, and Gaara nodded. I do not doubt that the ones following us will wait for the chance to kill me. I've been considered a threat to the village ever since I was born. They may just continue my father's orders, despite his death at Euro, Gaara said as he glanced down. Naruto asked as Gaara nodded, do you have any idea who exactly they'll have sent? Possibly, they'll be Anbu from my village. It makes sense. Euro. You send the Anbu to kill someone, Kakashi said. This is already becoming a drag. It's hard enough to worry if you're going to snap and try to kill us, but now we have to worry about your village trying to kill you. This is such a pain, Shikamaru complained to Gaara with a solemn no. Gaara turned to face Naruto and said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to affect the mission. Gazing into Gaara's eyes, Naruto said, I want to change my ways and be more like you. Find strength in protecting others rather than myself. I no longer want to live the life I had. Naruto was all too familiar with the sentiment, but it seems no matter what I will always be a monster to them. He is being judged by everyone around him for something he never desired or had any control over. It remained one of the most difficult tasks he had ever encountered. It's okay, I know what you're going through, Naruto comforted Kakashi while Gaara and Shikamaru blinked. I know what it's like to have everyone hating you, to think you're something you're not. It may not seem like it, but this will help in the long run as well. Because if you can prove to not only others but yourself that you are not what they say, then one day they'll see it as well, and when that day comes, you can stand proud knowing you were right in the end. He grinned as he looked at the rest of the Jinchuriki. Gaara thanked Naruto Uzumaki and turned around, saying, I see. Thank you. It's imperative that we move quickly to avoid giving the enemy a chance to find us, he said, vanishing into the tree just as Shikamaru turned to face Naruto. Want to explain what that was all about? It's nothing, don't worry about it, Naruto said, averting Shikamaru's gaze. Who worried and regarded Naruto with skepticism? Shikamaru sighed but nodded nonetheless, and Kakashi said, Naruto's right, it's nothing to worry about. We should go, the sooner we get this done the better. They nodded and leapt back up to rejoin the others. The two teams nodded and hurried off to their destinations as Kakashi yelled, Let's go, we're moving out. One squad went to the east, while the other headed west. The Sand Anbu stepped out of the shadow as they watched the teams divide, saying, I still can't believe he volunteered for this. This will make our mission much easier, now that he'll be away from his siblings. The higher-ups will be pleased with this. Gaara of the Sand has been a threat to the village for far too long. It's time we finished what Lord Rasa started long ago, one of the Anbu members said. Today is the day we take his Hida Euro. The Anbu teams were so preoccupied with Gaara that they overlooked a Naruto clone that was out of sight and giving them a menacing look before dispelling him. Before the boy stopped, the real Naruto and his team were speeding through the forest when he received this information and he glared. Sakura questioned, Naruto, what are you doing? Shouldn't we be getting into position? Naruto glared more and then glanced at Shikamaru and Kakashi. Shikamaru said, damn it, I was hoping to avoid this, and Sakura furrowed her brow. Come out. We know you're here, Kakashi commanded, hearing laughter coming from the trees. The sand Anbu in a blue mask said, interesting. I thought we had hidden ourselves well enough, but you were Kakashi Hatake of the Hidden Leaf, so it should come as no surprise. He and his men then revealed who they were. Please go about your business, we have no intention of interfering with an allied mission. What are you doing here? We're in the middle of a mission, Kakashi replied. With a scowl on his face, the Anbu said, we're not here to cause trouble. We are nothing more than auditors. To observe the outcome of this mission. Stop the nonsense. You're here because you don't believe in Gaara, are you? Naruto asked matter of factly, giving the Anbu captain a scowl. Sakura yelled, Naruto. What the heck are you doing? Are you trying to make things worse? She believed Naruto was causing trouble by acting like his usual self. However, she remained silent upon noticing the resolute expression on his face. That kind of power cannot continue to exist. Lord Gaara's power is a serious threat to the village. It has been deemed by those that are like minded that Gaara be eliminated for the sake of peace between our two villages, the Anbu said, causing Kakashi's eye to widen before settling on a glare. Glaring, Kakashi thought, so they planned to kill Gaara, but I doubt this was actually sanctioned and these men are just acting of their own accord. Naruto scowled as Shikamaru yelled, what the heck? You'd seriously kill your comrade. I get the guy is scary as heck, but killing him. I thought you guys were his allies. Gaara is nothing but a monster. A demon that threatens the lives of everyone in the village. This will also be a benefit for the Hidden Leaf as well. Surely you must understand that kind of creature cannot be allowed to live? The Anbu leader responded with a clenched fist. He detested the looks that everyone gave him, and his mind was filled with memories of hostility and glares from the other villages. It was a painful reminder of the expectations his mother had put on him, the weight his father had placed on him, and the disdain he faced from people who weren't appreciative of his sacrifice. He glared as he was brought back to reality by thoughts of his friends, his sensei, and his parents' loving words. You may believe he poses a threat, Naruto scowled. As he called forth multiple clones, Naruto yelled, but right now Gaara is our ally, and if you think we'll let you kill him. You clearly don't understand us at all. The Anbu leader said, how foolish, and pulled out their swords along with his men. He became immobile and yelled, capture them, but don't kill them. We'll deal with them while Team 2 handles Gaara. What? He looked down and saw several of his men in a long, black shadow connected to his own. What is this? He exclaimed. Shikamaru grinned as his shadow binding jutsu kept them in place, saying, damn it Naruto. I'd rather not get involved in this, but you're right. We won't let you kill him. He never had a chance to say, damn. This is because Naruto and his clones suddenly materialized from behind and instantly knocked them out with karate chops to the back of their necks or punches to the guts. Sakura and Kakashi charged into the battle right away and defeated them. Naruto nodded and left the fight to pursue Gaara's team. Kakashi gave the order, Naruto, go after Gaara's team. We'll handle this lot and catch up with you. One of the Anbu exclaimed, why? Why would you defend that monster? Just before Kakashi materialized behind him, putting a hand on his shoulder. Kakashi calmly stated, just because you all think one thing doesn't mean we think the same, before using his lightning jutsu to impale him. In the meantime, Naruto raced through the forest to make it to Gaara's team before it was too late. He was shocked to learn that his community still desired his death. However, based on his knowledge of Gaara, he was certain that the blood he must have shed had many enemies in his village. It made him wonder what he would have done if his life had turned out the way Gaara's had. Would the people in his village decide to kill him one day? He was reassured, though, that it would never have happened by thinking of those who saw him as more than the 9 tails. Even though his village continued to harbor misgivings and doubts, Gaara now desired to alter his behavior as well. And he was not going to allow them to deprive him of that opportunity. He vowed to hold on to Gaara and hurried over to the Sand team. The moment he saw the two members of Gaara's team, he stopped. "Hey, what are you two doing here? Shouldn't you be with Gaara?" Kurobi started to explain. We were attacked by Anbu from our village and... Naruto just stared before an angry expression appeared on his face. They nodded solemnly, and he yelled, "You abandoned him." Yaoki began to explain, but he was unable to go beyond remembering Gaara telling them to flee. We had no choice. If we had stayed. Shaking his head, Naruto gritted his teeth. As he sped off towards Gaara, leaving the two Sand Shinobi to consider their options, Naruto exclaimed, "I can't believe this. You two should be ashamed of yourselves. I know Gaara scares you, but he's still your comrade. You should never abandon your comrades. My sensei taught me, those that abandon the mission are trash, but those that abandon their comrades are worse than trash." As soon as Naruto saw that Gaara was being held down with puppet chakra strings and having water thrown over his sand, he raced towards him. With a scowl, Naruto sliced through the chakra strings binding Gaara with his kunai knife, channeling wind chakra. "Naruto?" Gaara asked, a little taken aback by his friend's unexpected arrival as Naruto smiled. Naruto apologized for being late, saying, "I had to deal with some assholes." He then crossed his fingers. Shadow Clone Jutsu. He yelled, "Wind style, great breakthrough jutsu." As several clones materialized and then flashed through hand signals. And unleashed a powerful wind gust that hit the shinobi, knocking some of them off the trees and unconscious. Oh no. All they are clones. Of them, only one is genuine. As he and his men began repelling the clones, the Anbu squad leader yelled. But he's not by himself. As they battled the Anbu, they heard Yaoki and Kurobi arrive out of nowhere. Naruto. San was right. Gaara is a fellow soldier. We also won't let him go. Gaara's eyes narrowed as the two struggled to keep him alive. Gaara. San, please pardon us. We weren't supposed to leave in that manner. We are allies with you. Nobody ought to be left behind. Gaara nodded, clutching his fist and squeezing the water out of his sand as Kurobi spoke. Oh my god. This is becoming grating. The Anbu chief swore, and Gaara materialized in front of him. There's no denying that the higher ups still dread me. However, Gaara is no longer the same me. This is all I need to defeat you, he said, holding out his hand as a tiny ball of sand floated over his palm. The ball of sand shot out as it struck the Anbu leader painfully in the chest, knocking him out cold. It then darted around and instantly eliminated every other shinobi as Naruto looked around. Whoa, that works well. Naruto turned to face Gaara, who gave him a nod. We managed to secure the other team, good work on this end, he said, turning to face Kakashi, Sakura, and Shikamaru. Naruto. Most of it was done by Gaara. Naruto nodded to the redhead, who had grown stronger. If you hadn't gotten me free from the trap, I don't think I would have been able to control myself for much longer. Thank you, Gaara said with a grin. Now, how should we handle these guys? With a glance at the unconscious Anbu members, Naruto said, I don't think this will go well back in the sand. They refused to acknowledge this. The Anbu's main focus is plausible deniability. Had they been successful, the sand would have declared it a win. The higher ups will brush this under the rug and deny any involvement because they failed. Kakashi approached the semi-conscious Anbu member leader and said, isn't that right? Plus, given they're already in hot water with that stunt they pulled with the sound, they won't want to risk the new alliance with the Leaf over such a petty grievance. He asked rhetorically, good, glad we came to an understanding, he said before knocking the Anbu leader unconscious. The Anbu leader growled but nodded. Should we bind them then? Gaara shook his head and Naruto questioned. It's not necessary. He sighed and looked down, the higher ups will still fear me, and others in the village will still fear me. They will return and report their failure to the council. They won't try another stunt like this for a while. He grinned at Naruto, Kurobi, and Yaoki. Until the day I can prove I am no longer the monster my father created. But it's nice to know that there are those I can call my comrades, my friends. He said. So, should we resume our mission now? They nodded and Kakashi questioned. After a short while, the combined teams had defeated the bandits quickly because they were no match for the fully trained shinobi of Sand and Hidden Leaf, and they had all but given up when their leader was defeated with ease and their bodies bound by shadows. Glancing over the 20 or so men, Kakashi said, "This was a good result, no casualties and all reported bandits have been accounted for. They'll enjoy their stay at the correction facilities. Naruto and Shikamaru, you both did well on this mission. However, I must warn them. There's a shortage of toilet paper at the Sand Prison." Kakashi smirked as the bandits moaned or grunted in agony. "Sakura, you too," Kakashi complimented, and Shikamaru sighed as Sakura and Naruto grinned. "Now let's make sure those bindings are secure." They nodded and went to check the ropes. "We don't want any of them to get funny ideas," Kakashi said. Gaara said, "I'm glad this mission was a success, and hope that it means a stable alliance between our villages," as Kakashi nodded. "We'll take half of them as agreed upon," he said, restraining half with his sands. After saying, "Yes, this should please the elders in both of our villages," Naruto turned to leave and head back to Gaara and Kakashi. "Hey, Gaara. Could we talk for a minute?" Assuming that Gaara was perplexed, he asked, then turned to face Kakashi, who nodded and turned to walk back towards Sakura and Shikamaru. The two were perplexed, but Kakashi's nod assured them it was okay, and they walked out of sight as Naruto stood at the edge of the cliff with Gaara. "You desired to talk with me?" As Naruto studied the boundaries separating the land of wind and the land of fire, Gaara inquired. "Yes, that's right. Since our altercation, I've been meaning to ask you this. Do you recall much of it?" Gaara nodded and he asked. "Yes, I do. I will always remember that fight. That's what helped me realize that my father was mistaken and that my way of living was incorrect. That I'm not obliged to fulfill his expectations of me." "You ask, but why?" As Naruto crossed his arms, he pondered. "You gave Shukaku the upper hand during the battle. However, he once yelled something that I don't understand. Kurama? What does that mean to you?" Gaara wondered, and he asked. "I've never heard him say anything like that before. He encouraged me to kill more people by pretending to be my mother the majority of the time. Do you and he still communicate? Could you ask him the meaning of it?" "No, I'm not as in contact with him as I once was. He hasn't said much since our fight. During full moons, he still stirs inside, but not as much." "Is it significant?" As Naruto folded his arms and continued to ponder its meaning, he questioned. "I guess not, but hey, I'm glad you got better from that fight." He said, "It's good to know that I'm not alone and that other people understand what it's like to be a Jinchuriki," to which Gaara nodded. "It is true that I am relieved to know that there is someone else who can relate to me." With a smile on his face, Naruto said, "Thank you, friend. From what I remember, you want to become the Hokage of your village, right?" "All right, then. I'm going to be your Kage," Naruto nodded. "And maybe we can meet up as Kage someday so we can keep defending our homes together?" As Naruto blinked and then nodded, smiling, he asked. He held out his hand as Gaara began, nodding and shaking it. "Yeah, that sounds awesome," he said, "but just to let you know, I'm going to be Hokage before you." Gaara stared at him, then a tiny smile appeared on his lips. He managed to joke, "Not if I become Kage first," as Naruto smiled and said goodbye to his new companion. Led by those who had once been shunned by many, and one day adored by all, the villages of the Leaf and Sand would come to be known for their unbreakable bond that would bring in a new era of peace and prosperity throughout the lands. Shukaku, meanwhile, laughed in Gaara while he observed his brother's container move out of sight. That child will eventually discover that's the name of the stupid fox, even though it was just a slip of the tongue. And he'll irritate the heck out of him when he does. Haha. All I want is to be in the front row. Shukaku smiled and then, like Kurama, he too faded into a recollection of the man who had become their father figure. Damna Euro, I miss you old Mana Euro. Afterwards that day, Naruto's flat. After the mission with Gaara, Neko Sensei's unrelenting training, and the paperwork he had to file after the mission was over, Naruto unceremoniously dropped his Chunin vest to the floor along with the rest of his gear and collapsed onto his bed, muttering in exhaustion. He moved his head to become more comfortable and moaned into his pillow, "If this is the life of a Chunin, then I've made a terrible mistake. Whence did his eyes fall upon the collection of pictures he kept on his nightstand? The first one showed him, Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi, and it was taken shortly after they were formally reunited as Team 7. Sasuke and he were scowling, Sakura was grinning, and Kakashi had a fake smile on his face. Another picture showed him and Shikamaru in their new Chunin vests, with all of Team 7, 8, and 9 behind them, excluding Sasuke, who was still in the hospital. The third picture was a little more intimate, showing just him and Hinata wearing a white lotus necklace he had gotten for her during the Tsunade mission. The picture was taken on the same night of the party, but it showed just the two of them. Hinata was blushing and grinning, and Naruto was smiling into the camera, drawing her in and giving her the peace sign. That's when the poor girl passed out. Naruto used his free time to hang out with Hinata when he wasn't training with the Anbu or going on missions with Shikamaru and his group. Over the past 2 months, they had developed a close friendship that they both valued. They spent time at Ichiraku Ramen telling stories, honing their ninjutsu techniques, or simply hanging out like friends. Naturally, Hinata loved hanging out with her crush and noticed that her confidence was rising daily. She had yet to discuss Tsunade's offer with her father. Kurenai had thought it a great idea to learn from her, but she was afraid of what her father or the elders of the Hyuga clan would do if she tried. The main branch discouraged trying anything other than the gentle fist style and thereby Kugen, which were considered the pride of the clan. She stated that she would handle things on her own, despite Naruto's desire to assist her in facing her father and clan. In theory, Naruto was not allowed to get involved because it was a clan matter. He was still hopeful that she would eventually defy her clan and obtain authorization to train under Tsunade. He thought she would come to him about it when she was ready, but he would be there to support her should that become necessary. He was pleased with the pictures before removing the journal's covert seal and opening it. He glanced at the picture of his parents and opened his mother's journal. Gently, he traced the pictures of his parents, grinning. Despite the passage of almost 2 months since discovering his parents, he was even more delighted to finally be able to put a face and name to them. His mother was Kushina Uzumaki, and his father was Minato Namikaze. How he wished he had known them earlier in life. After hearing the stories from the old man, Pervy, Sage, and Kakashi, he pondered what they might have been like if he had been there. Had his dad taken a leave of absence to teach him ninjutsu? Would his mother have told him tales earlier than now about their clan and possibly even the Fuinjutsu arts? He sighed, so many questions and few answers in his mind. The past cannot be changed. I can, however, live for the future. As he closed the journal and the picture and fell back onto the bed, Naruto spoke. When will Sasuke get better, I wonder? Surely, after nearly 2 weeks, he should be recovered by now, he inquired, his mind turning to his teammate as he glanced up at the moon. Next day, Sasuke's room at Konoha Hospital. Sasuke Uchiha reviewed everything that had happened since Itachi defeated him, staring blankly at his bed linens. Sakura had told him that there was a new Hokage, that Naruto had been promoted to Chunin, and that Anbu forces were also training Naruto. Naruto had closed the distance between them in a short amount of time at Euro, possibly even surpassing him. The promotion meant nothing to him. To him, it was just a title. To him, what was important was how much stronger Naruto had grown in such a short period of time. Naruto was always thought to be the least strong of them. He was the lone survivor, the misfit from the academy. To be honest, he wasn't all that important. Granted, he was aware that it resulted from his lack of supportive relationships in his life. He had some understanding of Naruto after his clan was killed. However, he didn't care all that much to approach Naruto because of his pride, his grief, and the fact that he was so obnoxious. His own mission was to kill his brother and exact revenge on his clan. However, since the exams, Naruto has grown incredibly powerful. It was frustrating that he had defeated Gaara and shown off so much new strength in such a short period of time. His battle with Itachi had disproved his belief that he had become stronger since graduating. He and Itachi had wiped the floor clean. It was almost useless, all that training he put himself through. The fact that Itachi wasn't even pursuing him was the most offensive aspect of all. While his brother thought of him as an afterthought, he was pursuing Naruto. That infuriated him even more. Why? Why did Naruto's retaliation seem to be so much more important than him? Itachi advised him to fortify himself, track him down someday, and try to exact revenge on his clan. However, he had been so badly beaten that it was as if he had never been an adult. Reliving all those memories was the worst part. Observing in front of him as Itachi killed his parents. The terror, the blood, and the screams he'd heard that evening had returned with a vengeance. Naruto, he thought bitterly as he reviewed all of his experiences and noticed the distance that was growing between them. He did not grow stronger, while Naruto did. He felt a strong internal pressure to close the distance, pursue greater authority, and ensure he wouldn't be defeated by Naruto. He just knew that he agreed with it. He had no idea what this stirring was. He needed to become stronger and have more power, but how? As the former Kage wheeled himself into the room, he turned to face Sarutobi and said, "That's not a look you should have on your face, Sasuke." "Lord Third, what are you doing here? I wanted to come see you because your sensei told me that you've been feeling pretty down lately. Do you have any favorite topics to discuss?" "No. There is nothing to discuss." Sasuke spoke without making eye contact. "I am positive that is untrue. You did recently cross paths with Itachi, your brother." Sasuke clutched his sheets, his eyes glaring fiercely. "I can only imagine what you must be going through right now." Sasuke glared and snapped at him. "You're not aware of the struggles I'm facing at the moment. I didn't even scratch Itachi when he was standing right in front of me. I pushed my body to its limits, endured pain, hated myself, and trained a euro, and it wasn't enough. He gave me a rag doll. Like beating. Have I been squandering my time in this foolish village here? Has all of my retaliation been for nothing? When all I've done has been in vain, how am I supposed to exact revenge on my clan? While I've been stuck here, Naruto has been growing stronger and stronger. I don't require indulgence. I require power." His words were so hateful and poisonous that his Sharingan started to grow. Sarutobi felt a great deal of guilt as he looked at the boy. Sasuke's fury and indignation towards his brother stemmed from a fabrication. A fabrication created to protect the Uchiha clan's honor. A lie stemming from his failure to come up with an alternative plan for handling the Uchiha crisis. A falsehood that had driven Sasuke to seek retribution. He considered whether or not to inform him of his brother's actual plans to kill the clan and keep the leaf safe. Naruto had made significant progress since learning the truth about his parents. However, Sasuke and Naruto were completely different. Although Naruto's early years were not the best in his memory, he had a strong affection for the village that was greater than and rivaled that of his parents. On the other hand, Sasuke was determined to kill his brother and was unaware that the truth might have the opposite effect. It might destroy his beliefs, his sanity, and his allegiance to Konoha. He might interpret it as a betrayal by the leaf and make a snap judgment that puts the lives of the village and his friends in jeopardy. Ironically, that was the last thing Itachi genuinely desired for his younger sibling. There's no telling what harm the young child could do to the hidden leaf if this hatred lingered on. Perhaps he ought to take precautions to make sure that didn't occur. "Tell me, Sasuke," he asked, raising a brow at Sasuke. "How old are you?" "What? I asked how old you are, 13 this year, correct?" At this, Sasuke gave a nod. "And how old was your brother when he became a captain in the Anbu?" "It was 13. What is the point that you are making?" "The hidden leaf had once produced the most skilled shinobi, your brother included. At the age of 8, he had awakened his Sharingan. Was promoted to Anbu captain at the age of 13, and Chunin by the time he was 10. Finished multiple difficult tasks for the leaf before you even attended the academy. And you thought you were prepared to face him off?" He questioned, earning a scowl from the boy. "This may be difficult to hear, but you are not even close to being prepared to face down one of the most proficient shinobi we have ever had. You are only a recent academy graduate." He glared at Sasuke. "Grow up, Sasuke. You may be a prodigy, but you are more naive than Naruto. You cannot compete with Itachi at your current level. He is older than you, has more skilled jutsu than you can ever dream of, and more abilities than you can ever imagine." Sasuke gave the boy a glare as he said, "To be honest, he would have been a great candidate for Hokage by now if he hadn't defected. Avenging the honor of your clan is something you hold dear, but it won't happen right away after you turn genin. Compared to you, Itachi is much older, stronger, and wiser." He addressed the boy, who was furious, saying, "If anything, I think Itachi was being easy on you." "Whatever? Is it just a meaningless grudge that doesn't deserve to be punished? You really think he'll just let it go after what he did?" To my family. My kin. My parents. Justice is due to him. I'm due for retribution. And what will you do after you've had your revenge? With an intense glare, he shouted something that caused the boy to recoil. You say you were able to murder your brother? Let's say you succeed in exacting revenge on your clan. What will you do next? Will your desire for vengeance cause you to destroy any chance of the clan's resuscitation, or will you strengthen it and rebuild it? It's also possible that, in your rage for retribution, he might kill you too. You could essentially complete the task that Itachi began. Sasuke's eyes grew wide, yet remained glaring. You'll have lost the opportunity to see the Uchiha return to their former splendor. While I'm not claiming it will occur, it is a possibility. With a scowl on his face, he thought, revenge often leaves little to no survivors. Sasuke. I've battled with the Uchiha. In fact, I saw them as important allies of the Leaf. And a few close pals. His thoughts quickly returned to Shisui, his descendant who had accepted the will of fire, and his old teammate Kagami Uchiha. Even now, I carry a heavy burden from their deaths. But you will end the Uchiha once and for all if you act out without thinking about the possibility of a better future, he said to the boy, who gave him a glare and then sighed. Then what should I do? You must abandon your narrow mindedness and explore other options if you hope to stand a chance of saving the clan. For this reason, I would like to extend an apprenticeship offer to you. I can give you an opportunity to surpass your brother as a shinobi. With your current mindset, you are unable to defeat him. Sasuke considered this, but he said, but I can offer you a different perspective and means to bring him to justice. Working out with the previous Sandaime. It was not without merit. The man who had trained the Sannin was the third Hokage. In his prime, he was also revered as the god of shinobi, and possessed a great deal of jutsu and elemental chakra expertise. However, since the invasion, he has been confined to a wheelchair. What was there for him to learn? Still, he would be foolish to pass up the vast amount of knowledge that was stored within him. Furthermore, Naruto would have to improve if he was receiving Anbu training. And who could instruct him more effectively than a former Hokage? All right. I'll take up your instruction. However, don't think it will alter my opinion. It matters only that I become more resilient. As Sarutobi nodded, he spoke. We'll simply have to investigate that. I'll see you at the Sarutobi clan house when you're released from the hospital. Your training will begin the day after tomorrow. And keep in mind what I said about Sasuke Ayuro, don't limit yourself to seeking retribution. Sasuke just stared at his sheets while the man wheeled himself out. Seek out the possibility of a better future, he counseled himself. The old Hokage, left alone in the corridor, sighed. This was something he detested. He detested the idea that the two brothers were destined for an unhappy and painful life together. However, this was a component of Itachi's scheme to restore the Uchiha clan's honor. Although he disagreed with the plan, he recognized its necessity. Even so, he hoped that he could have managed to put an end to the hostility between the Leaf and the Uchiha without using force. However, Itachi had made it his mission to make sure the coup would never happen. Which was unfortunate because he genuinely thought Itachi would have excelled as a Hokage eventually. Itachi. I am aware that you desire to be assessed and handled by a different Uchiha. However, I don't think you realize that the direction you've given him might result in the worst-case scenario. Sasuke is driven by the hatred you have given him, and he is ambitious and unforgiving. He might very well turn into another Orochimaru if nothing is done about it. I've made a lot of mistakes and had a lot of regrets in my life. However, if this opportunity to live a few more years is to mean anything, I must work to alter his course of events. Otherwise, the Uchiha will actually disappear from this world. As he wheeled himself away from the last of the Uchiha, Sarutobi made a promise to himself. All he could hope was that whatever he did would be preferable to the alternative.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.